Good afternoon, everyone. Please be seated. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
On a matter of privilege, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a matter of privilege.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today on a matter of privilege. There are two sets for a matter of privilege. The first being that it is raised at the first available opportunity, and the second, that it be a clear breach of my privileges as a member of this Assembly. On the first test, I think you will agree that this is the first opportunity, Honourable Speaker, to rise. As the catalyst for this matter is in an email I received from yourself just this morning. This is the first opportunity I could address this after reading the email and in doing the research I needed to bring this matter forward. Yesterday, in connection to a matter of privilege raised by my friend and colleague, the member for Steinbach, I requested camera footage from this House. While not a standard procedure in recent history, it has become a precedent as set by the member for Union Station. You, the Honourable Speaker, have refused that request for an arbitrary reason that hold no basis in legislative procedure or history. I will table that email today for members. The release of footage that has been tied to whether the Speaker witnessed an event or not, which creates an unequal standard that cannot be uniformly applied to all members of the Assembly. Either the footage captured by the cameras in this chamber is available to all members, or it is available to no one. Whether I was subject to a matter, when I was subject to a matter you took under advisement, the member from Union Station was granted a copy of the camera footage just a day later. Clearly, the member's request for footage was not relevant to your need to review it, but rather was an attempt to post social media as the member did immediately. That member's access to the footage was not impacted by whether you had witnessed the occurrence or not, but was a member seeking to score a political point. I will not address why I requested this footage, as that is still under advisement and the rules of this chamber, but rather as yet another example of the ways in which my ability to participate in this chamber is impacted. As a leader of the official opposition, my job is to hold this premier and this government to account. I cannot do that when there are one set of rules and tools and opportunities made available to members of the government, benches, and another for myself and my colleagues. That is a clear breach of my ability to perform my role as the leader of the official opposition and the MLA for Fort White. This is no different from the many times in this Assembly when I or my colleagues have been interrupted mid-statement for not directing comments to the chair, but the Premier's many personal attacks which ignore this convention are allowed. The Premier operates in this chamber as if it is a different set of rules that apply to him. Equally, the shameful display earlier this week, where the Premier spent much of the afternoon discussing an ethics report the Assembly had already accepted instead of the bill he was introducing. His relevant and personal attacks were far from relevant, but permitted in this chamber nonetheless. Therefore, I move, seconded by the member from Portage la Prairie, that this Assembly release and make publicly available the multi-view footage of the chamber for the date Wednesday, October 29th. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Before recognizing any other members to discuss this matter of privilege, I would remind all members that they must keep their comments very relevant to the matter of privilege. The Honourable Member for Waverley.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Matter of privilege is obviously a very important matter to be bringing forward. The member for Fort White had a chance this morning to bring this forward. As he said, he received the email this morning. We were sitting this morning, actually, so it does not meet the requirements for a prima facie case. Further to that, it does seem a little bit like he is just distracting from the fact that you made your ruling on this already. And I know that an important rule here in this chamber is not to question the rulings of the Speaker. And so I would argue that this is not a matter of privilege based on the timeliness and on the contents of the matter of privilege itself. Thank you.
Before I make any ruling on this, I want to make sure that I get it technically correct so that every member understands what the ruling is and that it's properly worded, because it may form the context of future rulings. So I will take it under advisement. Routine proceedings. Introduction of bills. Committee reports. Tabling of reports. The Honourable Minister of Sport, Culture, Heritage and Tourism.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm pleased to table the following annual reports for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2025. The annual report for Manitoba Centennial Centre Corporation, annual report for Manitoba Arts Council, annual report for Centre Cultural Franco-Manitobain, and annual report for Manitoba Film and Music. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Labour and Immigration.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'd like to table some documents that are in response to some questions that were written to my department in the order paper.
No further tabling of reports, ministerial statements. The Honourable Minister's, oh, I'm sorry, the Honourable Member for Waverley.
On House business.
The Honourable Member for Waverley on House business.
Can you please canvass the House for leave to not see the clock after condolence motions have completed today, to complete all stages, including report stage amendments, concurrence, and third reading for Bill 48, the Protective Detention and Care of Intoxicated Persons Act?
Is there leave to not see the clock after we're done condolence motions until all facets of Bill 48 are completed and it's passed? Is there leave? No. Leave has been denied. Ministerial statements. The Honourable Minister of Sport, Culture and Heritage.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today I rise to recognize October as Islamic Heritage Month in Manitoba. Throughout October, Manitobans from all walks of life have the opportunity to celebrate the invaluable contributions Muslims have made to the fabric of our province's rich and diverse tapestry. There is a verse in the Quran that speaks to our shared humanity, reminding us that we were created as diverse peoples so that we may come to know, understand, and respect one another. This month gives us an opportunity to reflect on our common values of peace, compassion, charity, and understanding, which are all at the heart of Islam. These integral principles are what guide me every day in my role as the first Muslim woman appointed to Cabinet, as I work with my colleagues to build one future for one Manitoba. My story, like so many of ours, began long before I ever stepped into politics. My grandparents were among the first 10 Muslim families to come to Manitoba back in 1914. They arrived through the Homesteaders Act, full of hope, courage, and determined to build a better life. Honourable Speaker, this month is not only an opportunity for celebration, but also for reflection. We acknowledge the challenges that Muslim communities continue to face, such as barriers to inclusion, stereotypes, increased Islamophobia, and discrimination. Such actions are not acceptable in a diverse and multicultural society, and they have no place in our province. Inclusion, respect, and equality are not optional values. They are essential to our national identity and every person, no matter their religious affiliation, is entitled to live with dignity, freedom, and a sense of belonging and security. Islamic Heritage Month in Manitoba celebrates the contributions, creativity, and leadership of Muslim communities that have helped shape our province's collective story. And there is one particular storyteller and peace builder I would like to highlight in the House today. She is, oh my gosh, so sorry. Soumya Sadiq is an award-winning entrepreneur, global peace negotiator, and best-selling author. She has led projects across the globe fostering partnerships between communities, nations, tribes, governments, and private sectors. Recognized for her contribution to planning nationally and globally, she was inducted into the prestigious College of Fellows of the Canadian Institute of Planners in 2024, the youngest professional to receive the distinction in the 100-plus year history of the organization. Earlier this October, she was recognized on the global stage at the Mediators Beyond Borders International Peace Global Summit in Lima, Peru. The award honored her pioneering, community-rooted, story-based, and trauma-informed approach to peace building. As a Muslim woman leader whose work redefines what peace and healing can look like, Soumya represents the strength and richness of Manitoba's Muslim community. Her leadership demonstrates how faith and cultural heritage can inform innovative, inclusive approaches to planning and peace building. Soumya is one of the many incredible Muslim leaders in our province, and I am very proud to call her a sister and a friend. Honorable Speaker, I would like to acknowledge all the Muslim community members who have held events this month to celebrate Islamic Heritage Month. When I introduced the Islamic Heritage Month Act last year and it was passed into law, we held the inaugural event here at the Legislature to celebrate the remarkable contributions Muslims have made to our province. Later today, we will have our second celebration in this building to honor leaders in our community. When we supported this bill, our government was sending a powerful message that Manitoba embraces and celebrates diversity, and that everyone, regardless of their faith or background, is valued and has a place in our society. Honorable Speaker, I ask that my colleagues join in congratulating me and Soumya on her extraordinary accomplishments, and extend my best wishes to all as we celebrate Islamic Heritage Month in Manitoba. Shukran.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I want to thank the Minister for bringing this ministerial statement today. I'll start off with the universal greeting in Islam as peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In the name of the Lord, the beneficent, the merciful. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Those are some of the kind greetings that we as Muslims in Islamic Heritage Month and throughout the year and throughout our life share with each other. Peace, love, respect, mercy. Honorable Speaker, it brings me great pleasure to celebrate October as Islamic Heritage Month. Today, over 25,000 Muslims call Manitoba home. Each one brings a story of faith, family, and community together to form a vibrant and essential part of this beautiful province we call home. When I first moved to Winnipeg years ago playing for the Bombers, I quickly learned what makes this province so special: the people. Manitoba welcomed me with open arms. And it's that same warmth and sense of belonging that continues to define our communities today. Muslim Manitobans have helped shape our province in a way in all aspects of our province, from small businesses like the Halal Meat Center on Maryland, Brother Yusuf Abdul Rahman, to major employers like Peerless Garment, Abdul Tassi and his family, to Food Fair, owned by the Zeed family, who are among many Manitoba Muslim pioneers that have grown this province and share their story and heritage with all of us. We also recognize some of the pioneers from the Muslim community here in the province who helped build the foundation of this community, like Ahmed Awid family, the Abbas family, Layla and Farouk Chibib, the Awan family, along with respected leaders and mentors, Sheikh Ismail Mukhtar and Sheikh Mohideen, and many others who have worked tirelessly to promote understanding, faith, compassion, unity across Manitoba. As we celebrate Islamic Heritage Month, we also honor the Muslims that have shaped our world, from advancements in mathematics and calculus to discoveries in astronomy, medicine, architecture, philosophy. Muslim scholars helped lay the foundation for modern science and knowledge. Their spirit of inquiry and commitment to learning continues to inspire generations around the world. As the first Muslim elected to the Manitoba Chamber, minister, and now leader of the Progressive Conservative Party here in Manitoba, and the first Muslim leader elected to lead any party in the history of Canada, shows you how far we have come. I carry that legacy with me every day. I think of the young people who now see themselves reflected in leadership, who now can share their stories, their voices, and their faith, and their dream to belong to a better Manitoba. Islamic Heritage Month reminds us that diversity isn't just something we acknowledge, it's something we live and celebrate. It's what gives our province its strength and its heart and its challenges each of us to stand against hate, to build bridges of understanding, of patience, of kindness, and love. To see another with empathy and respect is one of the foundational teachings of Islam. So I also want to congratulate and give a shout out to all of the amazing events that happened throughout this province and throughout the year, celebrating and sharing Islamic heritage with the rest of Manitoba. I understand that there's an event here tonight in the Rotunda celebrating that. It's unfortunate that members on this side of the House, and I myself as the first Muslim elected, wasn't invited to celebrate Islamic Heritage Month, but I will be there to celebrate it. To Manitoba Muslims community, thank you. Thank you for your resilience, your kindness, and your countless contributions that make our province stronger, more compassionate, and more hopeful for the next generation. Assalamu alaikum.
Prior to member statements, there are some guests I would like to introduce because they have to leave before we would be done member statements. We have seated in the public gallery from College Bellevue 23 grade 12 students under the direction of Ian Waters, and this group is located in the constituency of the Honourable Member for Southdale, the Honourable Minister of Advanced Education and Training, and we welcome you all here today. Member statements, the Honourable Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations.
Honourable Speaker, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a time to honour strength of survivors, remember those we've lost, and recognize the people advancing research and care. Today I'm extremely proud to highlight one such person, Dr. Masumi Majumdar, an incredible member of our community whose work is giving hope to families here in Manitoba and around the world. Dr. Majumdar holds a Tier 2 Canada Research Chairs Program in Genotoxicology, and since joining Brandon University in 2016, she has led the Breast Cancer Cell and Molecular Research Lab. Her passion is finding new and better ways to detect breast cancer early, and her research is truly life-changing. One of Dr. Majumdar's most important and exciting achievements is her work on finding a simple blood test that could help detect breast cancer early. Her team discovered tiny genetic markers in the blood that can signal the presence of breast cancer even before a tumor shows up on a scan. This could one day make it possible to find the disease faster and more easily. Here in Manitoba, early detection saves lives. Research and healthcare workers are providing vital mammogram services in nearly 90 communities across Manitoba. Combined with the lowering of the screening age and breakthroughs in early detection technology, Manitobans living in remote and rural communities no longer need to equate travel with receiving life-saving breast cancer screening services. Dr. Majumdar also works to raise awareness about early detection, especially in rural areas, showing that her dedication goes far beyond the lab. Combined with her research, Dr. Majumdar is a dedicated educator, guiding students in the sciences at Brandon University. and inspiring the next generation of researchers. I ask all members to join me in congratulating Dr. Masumi Majumder.
Good job.
The honourable member for Turtle Mountain.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I rise today to recognize a remarkable Manitoba whose influence continues to shape our province's agricultural landscape. Bill Campbell, a respected farmer and dedicated leader, passed away in January at the age of 69, leaving behind a lasting legacy and touching the lives of all who knew him. Bill operated a mixed grain and purebred Limousin cattle farm near Minto, Manitoba, where his deep commitment to the land has matched by his dedication to community and industry. He served as president of the Keystone Agricultural Producers from 2018 to 2023 and was vice president prior to that. His leadership has marked by integrity, collaboration, and tireless advocacy for Manitoba farmers. Bill also served as president of the Canadian Limousin Association from 2011 to 2013. Helping elevate Canadian cattle breeders' standards and promoting excellence in livestock production. Bill Campbell was more than a farmer. He was a voice for rural Manitoba and a mentor to many and a champion to sustainable agriculture. Bill also inducted in the Manitoba Agriculture Hall of Fame and that honored those who had advanced agriculture in Manitoba and preserving the province's farming legacy. He contributes to the left a lasting imprint to our province, and his legacy will continue to inspire future generations of agricultural leaders. I would like to recognize Bill's daughter, Courtney Campbell, who's here today. Also accompanying her is Alicia Hansenelli from the Keystone Agriculture Producers, who are here today in the gallery. And unfortunately, his wife and his daughter could not be here because they're showing Limousin cattle at another agricultural exhibit. But I just ask my colleagues to join me in a moment of silence for Bill Campbell. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Is there leave for a moment of silence? Agreed and so ordered. Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today to recognize the remarkable career and accomplishments of local child care leader and longtime resident of St. James, Marilyn Valgardson. For more than 4 decades, Marilyn has shaped the lives of children, families, and educators alike, leaving a lasting legacy in West Winnipeg's early learning community. 13 of those years were spent as the Executive Director for the Assiniboine Children's Centre, which is located in my constituency of St. James. While there, Marilyn led a team of 45 staff caring for more than 200 children across 3 sites. The impact of her work is clear. When the St. James School Division needed additional classrooms for French immersion, creating some risk to local childcare spaces, Marilyn stepped in to advocate for those spaces to be preserved. Working with the division, she helped to relocate 40 childcare spaces to Linwood School, ensuring families in St. James didn't lose access to that care. And because of her leadership, families in St. James now have, for the first time, access to care at Assiniboine Children's Centre for children from 12 weeks to 12 years, helping meet the needs of families as they grow. It is truly an honor to be trusted with a child's safety and development, and year over year, Marilyn stands as an example of that trust in action. Her passion has left its mark, made visible in the nature-based playground she spearheaded as Executive Director at the Early Childhood Centre at Red River College, where her vision for learning through play comes to life every day. As she begins her well-earned retirement, I want to thank Marilyn for her years of leadership and dedication to the children and families of St. James. Her work has strengthened our community and set an example for all who follow in her footsteps. Mr. Speaker, I ask all members to join with me in recognizing Marilyn Valgartson for an outstanding career and to congratulate her as she steps into her next adventure.
And I would just take a moment to remind all members that the correct title is Honourable Speaker. The Honourable Member for Agassiz.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Today I want to share a concerning story from one of my constituents in Agassiz that highlights the urgent issues we face in our healthcare system. This individual sought care at the Brandon Emergency Department on a Sunday, only to wait until Tuesday to be seen by a doctor. This experience is not an isolated incident, but it reflects the systemic failures that have become all too common under this NDP government. Under this NDP leadership, we have seen wait times balloon to unacceptable levels, leaving patients stranded in pain and uncertainty. Our healthcare system, once a pillar of pride, is now stretched to its limits. Emergency rooms are overcrowded, dedicated healthcare workers are overwhelmed, struggling to provide care in a system that this NDP government promised to fix. The NDP's policies have not only failed to address these critical issues, but have actively contributed added stresses with promises of accessible and timely healthcare that have fallen flat, leaving many constituents feeling abandoned. This government prioritizes pageantry over substance. They go out for photo ops and TikToks like they've done in Carberry in the past. And let's talk about Carberry for just a moment. That ER was closed on Tuesday. It's closed today and remains closed throughout the weekend. Wow. This NDP government needs to confront the mess that they've now created, commit to transparency, accountability, and provide real solutions that impact the healthcare professionals, the staff, and the well-being of all Manitobans. Enough of the blame game. Manitobans were promised a plan, and it's clear the NDP don't have one. So it's time to come clean.
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today to pay tribute to Gary Sodor, a longtime resident of Dauphin, a respected farmer, a businessman, and proud community supporter. Gary was raised with a strong agriculture roots in Gilbert Plains area and remained committed to the region his entire life. His love for anything with motor started early in the family farm, where he learned the value of hard work and developed a deep connection to the land. Gary's career reflected his drive, entrepreneur spirit. He sold camper tops and vehicles before purchasing the John Deere dealership in Dauphin in 1981. A decade later, he helped open up the first MTS cell phone location in Dauphin. Though it all, he continued to grain farm with a true passion. Gary and his wife Liz shared 50 years together and raised a family that became the greatest source of pride. He was a devoted supporter of the Dauphin Kings and a Junior A hockey club. For years, he led key projects to ensure Dauphin team success, including the annual Tractor Lotto and the Grow Project. He believed deeply in a community and was proud that Dauphin was such a great location for hockey programs and facilities. Gary was a strong supporter of Stars Air Ambulance, who was a quick response during his 2022 heart attack that gave him 3 more precious years with his loved ones. He will be remembered for his loyalty and commitment to his family and to his community. Gary's legacy of hard work and generosity will live on in the land he loved and the community he helped build. Honourable Speaker, I ask for 1 minute silence in remembrance of Gary Sodor.
Is there leave for a moment of silence? Agreed and so ordered. Thank you. Prior to moving on to oral questions, there's a guest in the loge to my right. On Aaron Selby is the former MLA for Southdale, and on behalf of all honorable members, we welcome you here today. Oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Before I get on to my questions, I'd like to take a moment and just pause on a very deeply personal matter. I've had friends who have passed away doing what they love, and grade 12, Darius Hartstone, a grade 12 lineman from Sisler Spartans, passed away after suffering a serious neck injury in a game on set. Darius turned 17 on Saturday. Sad to see a life taken so soon. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, your family, your loved ones, classmates, and everyone at Sisler. May you rest in peace, Darius. Doing something you love, playing a sport, it's one of the hardest things you can go through, and as a parent, my heart breaks for you. There's a GoFundMe page to help the family. Please think about donating to that. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable First Minister.
On behalf of the province of Manitoba, I offer my sincere condolences to Darius, D, as he was called by his loved ones, to his caregivers, to his family, to his friends, to his teammates on this very tragic loss. All of us as Manitobans spend so much of our lives around the field, the rink, the diamond, and it's where so many of the good times happen. When you have something like this, it really pulls at the heartstrings. I know that so many Manitobans have reached out to express just how sad this situation is. So as we offer our collective condolences to Darius and Darius's family, we want to ensure that perhaps there is some comfort for you during this difficult time, knowing that the entire province is behind you. For Sisler Spartans, for his family, and of course, for the memory of the late beloved D. Darius Hartshorn.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. On a theme today of broken promises by this Premier. He says one thing, acts a certain way, and does something very differently. The Premier wants to pretend he's a listening government, but when his actions are the exact opposite of that. I'm going to quote from a public post made by Manitoba Nurses Union, and I quote, "Downplaying the reality inside our hospitals and ignoring how it affects staff is not leadership, it's demoralizing," end quote. I guess it's no surprise to hear the Premier being called a demoralizing leader. He's been called a bully and a manipulator within this chamber. He's a master of twisting reality to confuse and distract Manitobans from the reality of his failing government. If he really was a listening Premier in government, why did he show up 20 minutes late for a meeting with Manitoba Nurses Union and only sit there for 12 minutes? Will the Premier apologize for his incredible disrespectful way in which he treated Manitoba Nurses Union and apologize for breaking yet another promise?
Yeah.
The Honourable First Minister.
You know, our team has been hard at work fixing healthcare for you, the people of Manitoba. We've hired 3,500 net new frontline healthcare workers. We've reopened emergency rooms that were closed by the previous government, starting with the ER in Carberry, continuing on with Glenborough, and this coming year, reopening the emergency room at the Victoria Hospital right here in Winnipeg. They closed emergency rooms.
Shame.
They fired nurses. They fired staff. They never campaigned on any of those cuts to healthcare.
Nope.
We're making progress and fixing the damage. There's still plenty work to do, but the number one risk to healthcare in Manitoba is if they ever get a chance to form government again.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
A real leader would stand up and apologize to the Manitoba Nurses Union, and that was nothing near what he just said. Disrespected them by showing up 20 minutes late and only gave him 12 minutes of his time. A real leader would apologize to the people at Carberry, where the hospital, the ER, is closed right now. The member just did a member statement about that the hospital is closed, the ER is closed. Premier says one thing, the reality is very, very different. My office asked for documents related to the so-called listening tour for healthcare, and well past the deadline, which the law is 45 days, they have to provide the information. Months past that deadline, we got the records back. And what does it say? The record does not exist. The Premier claims he's listening to Manitobans, but his office didn't take one note, one email, one letter, one briefing note. The question is simple. What is the Premier hiding?
Yeah.
The Honourable First Minister.
If the member turns around, he will see the health minister that closed 3 of the biggest emergency rooms and intensive care units in the province. If he looks at his donor list from the recent PC leadership contest, he will see the failed health minister who, for the first time in Manitoba history, sent intensive care unit patients out of province simply because we ran out of capacity to care for the sickest people. If he looks around, he will see an entire caucus made up of people who had their fingerprints all over the dismantling of our healthcare system. We're not going to go back to that. Instead, what we're doing is we're working with nurses. More than 1,200 new nurses working on the front lines. We're reopening emergency rooms like in Carberry, Glenborough, and soon to be in South Winnipeg. And most importantly, we're getting you the care when you need it, closer to home.
That's right.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a new question.
The Premier wants to live in the past. He's been in government for 2 years, so he doesn't need to look any farther than to his right and see a health minister that is a D- by the Manitoba Nurses Union. A health minister who has grey-listed HSC for 2.5 months due to unsafe working conditions. A health minister that has made a disaster of senior care in this province. So just look to your right, Premier, and you'll see where all the problems are. On top of that, economy and affordability in this province are ranked dead last. This Premier will stand up and say he saved you 1.5 cents a litre at the gas station. A whopping 75 cents you're saving when grocery prices have skyrocketed in this province, increase of 3.8%, the highest in Canada. Another broken promise by this Premier where he said he was going to lower the prices of groceries. So will the Premier stand up today and apologize for breaking yet another promise?
Here.
The Honourable First Minister.
Happy to take a question on the gas tax, which we cut immediately upon taking office to save you money. $350 million returned to you and your pockets right across this province immediately upon taking office. We promised to cut the gas tax, and we did. We promised to freeze hydro rates, and we did. We promised to staff up the healthcare system, and we are. This is team promises fulfilled. Yep. The work is undone. We've gotten a lot done. Yep. There's a lot more to do. Right. There's a lot more to lose if we ever go back to the PC.
Order, please. I would just remind members when asking questions to make sure they're directing them through the chair at all times. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It's not a serious Premier. That wasn't a serious answer. We're asking serious questions this side of the House about affordability, about healthcare, and he wants to stand up and laugh at you for saving you 1.5 cents a litre, 75 cents a tank on average. He thinks that's affordability. It's a disgrace, and he's not serious about making life better in Manitoba. He promised, yet another broken promise, when he will end homelessness. Out of the 700 people that this Premier promised to house, he's housed how many? 12%. It's a shame. It's a disgrace. Will the Premier stand up today and apologize for breaking yet another promise?
Here.
The Honourable First Minister.
In a rich country like Canada, nobody should be struggling the way we see people struggle. And so our government has taken action. I'm pleased to share with the House that as we meet here today, we have housed 100 of our fellow Manitobans moving them out of tents and into housing, helping them deal with addictions and trauma and start to take steps towards a brighter tomorrow. This is an important endeavor that we're working on with the City of Winnipeg and the Winnipeg Police Service. Methamphetamine addiction is something that's causing so much chaos for these folks. For you at home, we're trying to stamp that out with Bill 48. We asked them when we got here today to help us pass Bill 48, supported by the mayor, supported by the chief of police. What did they say? They said no. The only thing we say no to on this side is more PC political shenanigans. Right. No to them, yes to you, and making our communities safer.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
The Premier seems to be very worried about the PCs. He's mentioned it in every single question. Maybe he should be worried about living up to his promises or actually helping Manitobans. Maybe even answering a question every now and then. Honourable Speaker, this Premier has broken every single promise he campaigned on. C.D. Howe gave this finance minister, failing finance minister, a D-, saying they're not accountable and transparent. Proof's in the pudding. Premier talks about 3 mega projects, won't tell you what they are, when they're going to be built, how much they're going to cost, who's going to pay for them. The last time the NDP ran 1 mega project, they were years late and billions of dollars over budget, let alone handling 3 mega projects, let alone even having ministers that have an average grade of over D-. It's embarrassing, Honourable Speaker. Question to the Premier is, when is he going to finally come clean and tell Manitobans the truth? And will he apologize for breaking yet another promise on his mega projects?
The Honourable First Minister.
Well, there you have it. The PC leader is against building Manitoba. And on this, we fundamentally disagree. Right. On this side of the House, we're in favor of a build approach to the great province of Manitoba. Right. We're also in favor of people who get paid a pretty decent salary to show up and do the work. Yeah. The members opposite say no. They won't stay after 5 p.m. to pass Bill 48 to help stamp out the meth crisis. We want to take action. I'll table 5 times yesterday for the House. The documents show we asked for them to stay later. Again today we're asking them to stay late. I'll table for their benefit support from the mayor of the City of Winnipeg, support from the chief of police of the City of Winnipeg. We got documentation showing the travesty that is unfolding in our streets, and what will they say when we ask them to stay to 501, 502 to make you safer? They will say no. Shame. The PC opposition.
Time has expired. Order, please. Order, please. I would just remind the Leader of the Official Opposition that caution on the language used when you're suggesting that someone is finally telling the truth. It's getting close. So I just caution the member to be more careful with his language. The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Media has reported this failed Minister of Justice was, quote, disappointed and surprised with the Manitoba Association of Crown Attorneys. Well, newsflash, Manitobans are disappointed but not surprised with the performance of this member for Concordia. Fewer crowns means issues all throughout the justice system. Does this minister realize innocent Manitobans are paying the price for his continued failures and the NDP's broken promises?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
You see, Honourable Speaker, this clearly demonstrates the difference between our side of the House and theirs. When they had the reins of power, they were fighting with our Crown attorneys every single day. And in fact, it came to the point where they brought a grievance against the previous government. That was filed in April of 2023 under then Justice Minister, the member for Steinbach. This is their grievance that now our government has been left to clean up. We are committed to being at the table, to working with our Crown attorneys, working with everyone in the justice system to ensure that everyone has fair and timely access to justice. That's our commitment. Members opposite failed in that task.
The honourable member for Brandon West on a supplementary question.
Well, this minister is obviously learning from the Premier about taking credit for everybody else's hard work. Crown attorneys were clear. The minister's alleged new prosecutors simply do not exist. And the wage increase? Well, results of an arbitration, not his benevolence. Why does this minister continually misrepresent the facts for all Manitobans?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
A member opposite's completely lost on this issue. We have 42 more crowns in the province of Manitoba today because of this government. And that includes the 35 new crowns that we committed to coming into office. We settled the contract. Again, members opposite walked away from the table. They wouldn't give our Crown attorneys a proper contract. They wouldn't negotiate with them fairly. What happened when the member for Steinbach had this seat? He refused to meet with MACA. He refused to meet with them. I meet with them on a regular basis because I'm committed to working with our Crown attorneys, giving them the resources they need, and supporting Manitoba communities.
Here, here. The honourable member for Brandon West on a final supplementary question.
As this minister continues to blame the member for Steinbach, let's listen to what the prosecutors have to say. Since this minister took office, the problem has gotten worse. This failed minister has taken a problem and expanded it. Instead of answering questions, he jumps from talking point to talking point. He can't escape his reality. He is responsible. His failed NDP government is responsible. Why has this minister done nothing to address this problem in over 2 years?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Honourable Speaker, these aren't talking points, these are facts. And the member opposite has no facts, so he comes in here with rhetoric and accusations with nothing to back it up. What we know is that under their government, a 20% vacancy rate with our Crown attorneys. We brought that down to just 3.5%, and there's more work to do, Honourable Speaker. We're going to continue to work on it. We're committed to supporting our courts. We're committed to ensuring that Manitobans have fair and just access to our justice system. Members opposite ruined our justice system. We're taking a different approach. We're going to make the changes. We're going to keep working. If we go back to them, we're going to see more of the same.
The honourable member for La Vérendrye.
Honourable Speaker, every day I speak to farmers disappointed by the inaction of this government. But yesterday it got much worse. I spoke to the owner of NPI, a well-known agribusiness in southern Manitoba. NPI is sitting idle while farmers' crops deteriorate because the province refuses to approve a new state-of-the-art Canadian-made grain dryer. This equipment, built by Law Merit, is CSA approved, uses 50% less natural gas, yet this government continues to block its startup, offering no clear path forward. Honourable Speaker, will the Minister of Agriculture tell this House why his government is standing in the way of a Manitoba company trying to help farmers finish their harvest while reducing emissions?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you for the question. Obviously, the member opposite says that safety is our first priority when we talk about manufacturing and opportunities. I know the department has been in conversation, and they will continue to be in conversation of the importance. I do want to thank the opportunity to say that the producers are in some challenging times, and we will continue to work with them, and we will work with them forever. Thank you.
Great job.
The honourable member for La Vérendrye on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, that makes it much worse, and the situation gets much worse. Law Merit, the Canadian company that builds the grain dryer, has been in business for over 70 years, with installations all across North America. Never a problem until now. This is where it gets much worse. Law Merit was planning to set up shop here in Manitoba, investing $15 million in our ag industry, providing 100 additional immediate jobs. But after this, here's what he told me. Do we really want to invest in a place where they don't want to work with us? Now they're looking at taking those investment dollars and moving them to Saskatchewan. So my simple question, why doesn't this government want to work with Canadian companies?
Time has expired. The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and we continue to work with anybody, and I challenge the member opposite to provide me some documentation that can justify the allegations. I think first and foremost, the political talk is X, but let's bring this forward and bring me some documentation that I can justify the conversation. There is no way that we in this province are going to turn away opportunities of business development. And in fact, we're enhancing the opportunity. And you go ahead and talk to agriculture producers, particularly the cattle industry, of what your government did to the young entrepreneurs of the beef industry on the benefit of what they could make happen today. Thank you.
Order, please. Again, I just remind members to direct their comments, answers, questions through the chair. The Honourable Member for Laveron.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'd encourage the Ag Minister to check his inbox because not only has he gotten emails from Law Merit, he's also gotten emails from Ryan at MPI. This is the investor in the agribusiness in southern Manitoba. He also wanted to expand his operation in southern Manitoba, but instead, now because of this, because of not being able to set up his operation, that value-added business is looking to set its pace on the road to Saskatchewan. So my question for the minister is, will this minister commit today to clearing the backlogs of setting up grain dryers for Manitoba farmers? Yeah.
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I never turn away opportunities, and I will gladly sit around the table and have that discussion. I'm not going to take rumors or speculation from the member opposite, because that's what they're famous for, is setting up a situation has no merit to it. But I do want to assure you that I believe in agriculture. I believe of opportunities regardless what commodities, what it is. We are here as a government for added value opportunity in this province, and we will continue to work with our producers regardless where they are from the provinces. Thank you so much.
The Honourable Member for Midland.
Honourable Speaker, every day Manitobans are paying the price for this NDP's broken promises and sneaky tax hikes. Taxes are increasing, prices are increasing, but paychecks are shrinking. This minister is hiking taxes on families by hundreds of millions of dollars through education property taxes and removing indexation on income taxes. Families are struggling and are being forced to make difficult decisions with their household budgets. Instead of affordability, this minister has created impossible situations for families here in Manitoba. Will he commit to shelving his tax hikes and restoring indexation of personal income taxes?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. You know what's sneaky? Ramming through hydro rate increases through legislation for the first time in the province's history. That's their record. What's our record? We froze hydro rates, just like we committed to Manitobans. We know they increased taxes on renters, they increased costs for farmers, and we know that they increased the cost of fuel by failing to take action like we did when we cut the gas tax. This team on this side of the House will always fight to make life more affordable for Manitobans.
The Honourable Member for Midland on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, we all know this minister likes to quote MNP in this House, so here's a new one for the minister on just how bad life is becoming for Manitobans. In a recent report issued on Manitoba's debt, MNP stated, quote, some households here are being pushed into impossible choices between food, heating, or even medical needs. I table the report for the minister. 26% of Manitobans have reduced utility consumption, yet this minister is hiking hydro rates. 21% say they are eating less to save money, and 1 in 5 are delaying or skipping medical, dental, and prescription needs. When will this minister start taking affordability seriously and stop his sneaky tax hikes on Manitobans?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Member opposite wants to quote MNP. I'll quote MNP. They said that the members opposite made reckless and risky decisions that left us with a $2 billion deficit. That's their record. What did we do? In 1 year, we cut that deficit by 42%, Honourable Speaker. We're getting the job done after years of cuts to health care, cuts to safety, and we're fixing the budget because the members opposite, where they left us in a big hole, this team is focused on getting the finances right because we know it's only through that we can continue to do the important work of fixing health care and fixing the mess that they left us. Again, when it comes to affordability, there's no question that this team is doing the work each and every day.
The Honourable Member for Midland on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, this minister likes to live in the clouds just like his budget projections. But things aren't as rosy for Manitobans because life is increasingly unaffordable under this NDP government. 43% of people are reporting that they are within $200 of insolvency. Manitobans cannot afford to pay their bills, Manitobans can't afford to heat their houses, and Manitobans can't afford to put food on their table for their families. And this minister is trying to ram through tax hikes on Manitoba families. Will this minister stand up today and commit to stopping his tax hikes when half of Manitobans are close to bankruptcy?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
You know, for years, Honourable Speaker, Manitobans had a government that were not focused on their affordability challenges. Now they do. They have a government that actually is focused on responding to that. We did that right out of the gate when we came into government. We brought in a gas tax cut. We brought in our hydro rate freeze. We, of course, restored a renter's tax credit that the members opposite cut. They increased taxes on Manitobans who are facing some of the greatest challenges by $175. Those are seniors, folks on fixed incomes. That's their record. Never mind selling off 385 units of social housing only a couple blocks from here. You want to talk about making life harder for Manitobans? That's their record. When it comes to making life more affordable on this side of the House, we're going to keep doing that work each and every day.
The Honourable Member for Agassiz.
If the NDP MLAs spent as much time working on their portfolios as they do their TikToks, perhaps they may have noticed the scathing reports like the Manitoba Advocate for Children and Youth annual report. Substance use among children is now a crisis under this failing NDP government. To quote the Advocate, the province's current youth addiction system is ill-equipped to meet the complex and co-occurring needs of many young people. When will this minister stop failing children and make them a priority?
The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker, and I want to thank Macy for all of the work that they do. They do some incredible work right across our province, and we're working collaboratively with them. We're ensuring that we are filling a lot of the gaps that the previous government didn't do. They weren't working, to make sure that Manitobans were, serviced right across our province, especially our youth. We know that, they need supports. That's why we're investing in huddles right across our province. We're going to continue to do that.
Right. The Honourable Member for Agassiz on a supplementary question.
Again, the NDP failed to grasp the seriousness of the substance use and substance-related harms children and youth are facing under this government. What is the NDP's legislative priorities when it comes to addressing the rise in young people facing these challenges? Opening drug injection sites? The youth addiction system is awash in problems, according to the Advocate. Does the NDP have any other plans for youth in drug crisis other than enabling and ignoring?
The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker, and I know that was members opposite's record to just ignore. On this side of the House, we don't ignore. We actually work with the experts. We're addressing the issue by working with frontline organizations, supporting and meeting youth where they're at, just like Huddle is doing. Huddle has supports for youth that are struggling with mental health, that are struggling with substance use. Yesterday, I was just with a group of frontline organizations that are working to support these youth. We're working on opening up a huddle right in the member for, Portage La Prairie. So that member can expect a huddle right in his constituency.
Member's time has expired. Order, please. Just before the next question, I remind the member to make sure they address their questions through the chair. Honourable member for Agassiz.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. That is not what we're hearing from Macy, and the report tells us different. Children and youth are not having their needs met. Almost half the children and youth served by Macy identified survival as their top concern. This is the legacy of this minister to date. This bears repeating for the record. Almost half of the children and youth served by Macy identified survival as their top concern. Survival should not be the last thing survival should be the last thing on any child's mind. Will the minister put down her phone, pick up the report, and do her job?
The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker. And that's why we've invested $2.4 million this year alone, and we're going to continue to invest. We're going to continue to support, and we're going to continue to work collaboratively and look at the gaps that are right across the province, something the former government didn't do. We know that there's a lot of work to be done, and we're going to continue to do that work. We know we're listening to Manitobans, something the former government didn't do. Youth are very important in our province, and we know that we have to listen to our youth. That's why we're working, and we have those youth at that table, that we are working on a suicide prevention strategy in our province, and we have those youth at that table helping to guide that strategy, and I'm very proud of that.
Time has expired. The Honourable Member for Tyndall Park.
Honourable Speaker, student unions from U of W, U of M, and other post-secondary institutions have come together in front of the Legislature repeatedly, most recently today. The students have been patient these last 2 years. They have taken the time to meet with a number of MLAs to express their concerns, highlighting how there are tens of thousands of international students unable to gain access to basic provincial health care, including dental, vision, and prescriptions. Will the government commit today to providing a clear timeline and funding framework for reinstating international student health care?
The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education and Training.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I thank the member for raising the question. I want to say thank you to the students who have come here to advocate again, and I'd also like to take the moment to remind the House as to where this problem originated. The member sitting across the way, years ago, in a very short-sighted moment, completely cut the funding for international student health care, while they also cut funding across the board for post-secondary institutions and nearly every public service that existed in Manitoba. It was a dark day in Manitoba, and I can assure the members opposite and the member that's hollering at me from Fort Garry that work is happening. But we're moving towards it, working together with the Minister of Health, the Minister of Immigration.
First time has expired. The Honourable Member for Tyndall Park on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, current costs for the available international student health care plan is high and availability is very low. It can cost a student $1,200 a year or more, and this does not cover all basic needs. It is estimated that reinstating full coverage would initially cost the provincial government $13 to $14 million. However, the annual provincial revenue that has continued to be collected from international students is well over $1 billion. Does the government feel that it is fair for students to be contributing so much, yet having such little access to basic needs?
The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education and Training.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I'd like to point out how very easy it is for the member opposite to stand in her place and to tout these aspirations that she may never get to live through. I want to remind the House that the federal government was the government that interrupted our international student pool here. They were the ones that brought in the policy that made it nearly impossible for us to recruit international students. My heart goes out to the students that are here. We are working on a solution for you. It is in my mandate. Mandates are 4 years. I have promised you to your faces, but I also promised you that I will not give you empty promises on timelines. When I stand here in my place, I will tell you the truth, and we will deliver, as we have done on
Members'
nearly
time has
every
expired.
other bill.
The honourable member for Tyndall Park on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, it wasn't very long ago, just over 2 years ago, where I sat right around here, this very seat, the NDP sat on this side and they banged on their tables. They yelled at the top of their lungs saying, PC government, reinstate healthcare for international students. A couple of the members, they're in government right now. In fact, they're in cabinet right now, Honourable Speaker. They have the opportunity to bring back healthcare for international students, something that they had no problem fighting for when they were on this side of the House. So will they? Will they keep their promise, bring back healthcare for international students?
The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education and Training.
Honourable Speaker, I am proud to stand here on this side of the House with this phenomenal government. We are working every day for Manitobans, every single day. We are working to get this sorted, and I appreciate you pointing out that we called for it every day. From the moment that that program was cut, it was the NDP that said that was wrong. Who brought in the International Student Healthcare originally? It was an NDP government. Who had an International Student Act? It was an NDP government. So I'll stand over here with our record, and I'll let you sit over there with yours.
Order, please. Once again, remind members to direct their comments through the chair. The honourable member for Transcona.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Our government introduced Bill 48, the Protective Detention and Care of Intoxicated Persons Act, a bill that will make our streets safer, get people the medical care that they need, and help stamp out meth addiction in Manitoba. Yesterday afternoon, we asked for leave to debate the PC's amendments to Bill 48 for as long as we needed. Reporters asked the member for Portage-La Prairie if they would sit late to debate. The member for Portage-La Prairie responded, and I quote, "We're allowed to wait and sit as long as we need to sit in order to get these bills right. We need to be here when and as long as the people want us to be there, so absolutely." But Bill 48 didn't pass yesterday.
Member's time has expired. The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
Miigwech, yesterday the PCs promised that they'd join us in debating Bill 48 for as long as it takes to pass. The member for Portage-La Prairie promised Manitobans that the PCs would pass this bill to help us protect our streets here in Manitoba and get people the care they need. Yesterday afternoon at 4:34, the member for Waverley asked for leave to sit late, but the member for Portage-La Prairie and the PC caucus denied that leave. We tried again at 4:35, 4:36, 4:53, and 4:55, a total of 5 times, and at every turn, the PCs failed to live up to their promise to get that bill passed to protect Manitobans. So, will the PCs pass Bill 448 today, or will they continue to put Manitobans at risk?
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Morden Winkler.
Honourable Speaker, students in post-secondary are struggling under this NDP government. When asked about sustainable funding, the minister publicly said, "We have a 4-year mandate. There are still 2 years left." Honourable Speaker, why should the post-secondary institutions and students have to wait another 2 years for action that is now needed now? That's not leadership, Honourable Speaker. That's delay.
The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education and Training.
Honourable Speaker, it is such an honour to stand up and answer a question about post-secondary, because when I hear that question from the members opposite, It makes me chuckle a little bit that they have the gall to ask about it, but also it makes me think about the future and the future that we all want for our children. It just so happens here that I have the stats from when the members opposite were in power. And I see across the board here, minus 3%, minus 2%, minus 0.9, minus 0.9, minus 0.4, minus 3.6. Consistently, year over year, cut funding to post-secondary institutions. Since we came in, we have increased funding every year, and we will continue to do so, Honourable Speaker.
The honourable member for Morton-Winkler on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, student groups have been clear about the urgent need for sustainable funding. There are 600 students going out for food hampers every month, yet the minister continues to dismiss their concerns. We are in a crisis of food security. Why is this government ignoring the voices of those directly impacted by this inaction?
The Honourable First Minister.
Honourable Speaker, very proud of both of our education ministers, one of whom is making tuition more affordable, the other one who brought in a universal school food program to feed every child here in the great province of Manitoba. And I just wanted to say, before this iconic week in Canadian sports is up, that on behalf of the province of Manitoba, let's go Blue Jays!
Yeah.
The next time that this House meets,
that's right.
the Blue Jays will be world champions. And so on that happy note, against the Trump cheering opposition, we're happy to cheer for Team Canada. And by the way, Prime Minister Carney, we urgently need a First Minister's meeting tomorrow in Toronto, wrapping up around 6:30, possibly carrying over the next day if necessary. Let's go Blue Jays!
Order. 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 The honourable member for Waverley.
House business.
The honourable member for... The time for oral questions has expired. The honourable member for Waverley. The honourable leader of the official opposition on a point of order.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Unfortunately, we couldn't hear what the Premier was saying with all his yelling and hand gestures, but on this side of the House, I think I would like to call a point of order for all members to rise and recognize the Toronto Blue Jays on their success and the fact that they're going to win the World Series.
Order, please. The honourable member for Waverley.
Am I able to respond to the point of order?
The honourable member for Waverley responding to the point of order.
I remember in 1993 very clearly Joe Carter hitting that home run. I cannot wait for the game tomorrow after Halloween. Go Blue Jays. We're going to take it home tomorrow night. Thank you very much.
And for the record, it was not a point of order. The honourable member for Waverley.
It was important that I responded. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I know I tried this yesterday at 4:36, 4:37, 4:53, and 4:55, but I would also like to ask again today, could you please canvass the House for leave to not see the clock after condolence motions have completed today, to complete all stages, including report stage amendments, concurrence, and third reading for Bill 48, the Protective Detention and Care of Intoxicated Persons Act. Thank you.
Is there leave to not see the clock until all stages of Bill 48 have been completed today? Is there? Leave has been denied yet again. The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
On the House business, orders of the day.
The Honourable Minister of Business. Before we move on, as a reminder to members, yesterday the House agreed that the consideration of condolence motions will occur immediately following oral questions today, postponing petitions and grievances until consideration of the motion is complete. I will also remind members that in accordance with Rule 63, at the conclusion of the speeches on a condolence motion, the Speaker shall put the question and ask the members to signify their approval of the motion by rising in their places for a moment of silence. The Honourable First Minister. The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation on House business. Okay. The Honourable First Minister.
Pardon? We're doing condolence motions. I move, seconded by the member for Southdale, that this House convey to the family of the late Rebecca Becky Catherine Barrett, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of her devotion to duty and a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family.
It's been moved by the Honourable First Minister, seconded by the Honourable Member for Southdale, that this House convey to the family of the late Rebecca Becky Catherine Barrett, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of her devotion to duty in a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family. The Honourable First Minister.
Honourable Speaker, it fills me with a lot of humility to have the opportunity to honour the late, great Becky Barrett. She was a remarkable person who mentored many, many wonderful people, some of whom join us today, and I want to acknowledge their grief and their loss, and is somebody who truly made Manitoba a better place. Becky was somebody that many of us here who serve currently as MLAs can count as a mentor as well. And importantly, she is also somebody that we could call a friend. On behalf of the province of Manitoba, I want to extend to Becky's family, to her friends, and to everybody who had the opportunity to work with her, many of whom are still in government today, my sincere condolences, as well as our sincere condolences collectively as one great province. We also know that when we talk about Becky, we're not just talking about a career as an MLA, a career as a cabinet minister, not even just as a political organizer. We're talking about somebody who had a real heart for community and somebody who truly exemplified the service that you allude to in the condolence motion that we are here to speak to today. Becky was also super fun, who had an amazing sense of humor and was full of a ton of energy. I got to know this right away, and I'm going to apologize to my colleague from Tyndall Park in advance. But the first time that I really got a chance to speak to Becky, other than just some straight pleasantries or handshake type of situation, was at a fundraising event being held in Gimli in 2016. Her and her life partner, David Woodbury, were the leads on organizing. They gathered a few hundred people to get together and invited me to say a few words as well. So I show up on the evening. Becky makes a beeline to me at the event, grabs my hand, shakes it real hard, and she goes, "I'm Becky Barrett, and I beat Kevin Lamoureux in the 1999 election." And then she let go. Sense of humor, straightforward, a little bit of a partisan edge too. But all in all, an absolutely wonderful, amazing person. When we look at the span of her lifetime, we see somebody who started in the United States of America and caught the political bug there, if you will, and then moved here to Canada and got involved in politics as an organizer, as somebody who was a progressive activist, but then had the courage to put her name on a ballot and really, really worked. When we talk about Becky and the mentorship role that she played, you know, I think about canvassing in your community between elections. The message that she always shared with me and that I've tried to instill to successive generations of New Democrats is that people deserve to know their representatives. People deserve to see the people that are representing them in the legislature. And most importantly, people deserve to have their voices heard. And there's so many different techniques and examples that I could point to, but the bottom line is this. What she did on a constituency level was to be present, was to bring forward the voices, and to ensure that the NDP governments that she served in, oppositions as well, had the perspective from having the ear on the ground. And so hopefully some of our colleagues and I will be able to continue that important tradition. Now, importantly, she was also part of the Gary Dewar team that moved from opposition into government, and she was called on to serve in the capacity of being a Minister of the Crown. And while she was there, she made many important contributions, whether on policy issues like childcare that was very, very important to her, or in the portfolios like multiculturalism and immigration that she was called on to serve. And of course, standing here some, 20 plus years later, so many of the programs that she had a hand in developing that were part of those early years of the Dewar administration that would eventually become 17 good years serving the people of Manitoba with New Democratic policies. The policies and programs and things that she implemented that she had her fingerprints on continue to stand to this day. And the idea not only that you deserve to have a government that listens to you, but you deserve to have a government that enacts the policies that make a difference for people like you. And when we look to that, West End sort of neighborhood and the successor here, the Minister of Labour, Immigration, we know that those policies to help the working person get a little bit ahead in life, to have a little bit more money at the end of the month, to have an education system that served their kids, to be able to be reunited with their family here in Manitoba, those policies that Becky helped to shepherd, they have stood the test of time and have become part of the fabric of the province of Manitoba. And so when we think about legacy, that is a legacy. That you can do something in your public life that just is such a consensus builder that it fades into the background and just becomes an accepted part of this province's social fabric where people just nod their heads and say, yeah, that's who we are as Manitobans. Well, that's what Becky had the ability to contribute to. Now, of course, on a personal level, she had many close friends, people who adored her, people who just thought that she was the best person to be around. When she did leave us, it left a big hole in a lot of people's hearts. Sadly, it was part of a pretty rough period in which we said, see you again, to many close colleagues who served both in the Dewar but also in the Pauley governments. And so when I think about the march that our team has been able to take together over the years, I know that it is truly as a result of the trail-breaking efforts of people like Becky Barrett and, of course, our other late great mentor and role model, David Woodbury. And the love that they shared for one another, the fun that they had for each other, the Jets games that they cheered for with each other, I think really, really impressed all of us. And so if there was any comfort for those grieving and for all those who had the ability to call Becky one of ours, perhaps a comfort comes in the fact that her and David are reunited again. So, in closing, on behalf of the people of Manitoba, Becky Barrett, we thank you for your service to this province and to the country of Canada, and of course, for making this a better place. Miigwech, merci. Thank you very much.
Prior to recognizing the next speaker, there's guests in the gallery that I think it's important to introduce at this time. I would like to draw the attention of all honourable members to the public gallery, where we have with us today the family and friends of Becky Barrett. Laura Kuipers, Becky Barrett's daughter, Jennifer Woodbury, Leanne Findlay, Paul Bekta, Angela Matheson, Anna Rothney, Jacqueline Domer. Along with many other guests in the gallery, on behalf of all honourable members, we welcome you here today. The honourable member for Riding Mountain.
Honourable Speaker, it is with deep respect that I rise today to pay tribute to the late Becky Barrett, a devoted public servant, a passionate advocate for fairness, and a trailblazer for progressive values in Manitoba. Becky passed away on January 26, 2024 at the age of 81. Her passing marked the loss of a woman whose career and character have left a lasting imprint on this province, on this chamber, and on all who had the privilege to work alongside her. Rebecca Catherine Barrett was born on May 1, 1942 in Pensacola, Florida. Before she ever entered the world of politics, Becky's path reflected courage and curiosity. She immigrated to Canada in 1975, a decision that speaks to her openness to new beginnings and to her deep belief in the potential of community and shared purpose. She earned her master's degree in social work from the University of Manitoba in 1979 and soon after began a career as a social worker. Those early professional years shaped the foundation of her public life. Working directly with families and individuals, Becky developed a profound understanding of the struggles faced by those on the margins and the systemic barriers that held them there. That grounding in empathy and fairness became the hallmark of her later political life. Outside the public sphere, Becky was known for her quiet determination, her kindness, and her generous spirit. She built strong friendships, mentored younger colleagues, and was a steady voice many turned to for perspective and support. Her compassion was genuine, and it touched both her professional and personal circles. Becky Barrett entered provincial politics as a member of the New Democratic Party and was first elected to the Manitoba Legislature in 1990, representing the riding of Wellington in Winnipeg. In those early years, while sitting in opposition, she served as critic for Family Services and Justice. Drawing on her background in social work, she approached policy debates not as abstract issues, but as matters affecting real people. She fought for stronger child welfare oversight and introduced a private member's bill to ensure the Children's Advocate reported directly to the legislature, a measure grounded in her belief in accountability and transparency. She was outspoken on issues of violence, social assistance, and poverty reduction, always keeping human dignity at the center of her work. In the years leading to the 1995 provincial election, Becky played a key role in strengthening her party's diversity and representation. As chair of the Candidate Recruitment Committee, she actively encouraged women and minorities to seek office, widening the doors of participation for those too long excluded. In 1999, when the New Democratic Party under Premier Gary Doer formed government, Becky Barrett was elected in the riding of Inkster, narrowly defeating the incumbent Liberal member. Shortly thereafter, she was appointed to Cabinet as Minister of Labour and later became Minister of Labour and Immigration, roles she fulfilled from 1999 until 2003. Her tenure as minister was marked by conviction and courage. She introduced sweeping labour law reforms in 2000, measures that strengthened the rights of workers, provided for automatic union certification in certain circumstances, and protected employees from unjust dismissal. Becky spoke often about fairness in the workplace, not as an ideological goal, but as a matter of human respect. In 2002, she introduced major changes to workplace safety legislation, empowering inspectors to act more decisively, strengthening penalties for violations, and extending compensation to firefighters who develop certain cancers through their work. Those reforms stand today as part of her enduring legacy, practical protections that save lives. As minister responsible for immigration, Becky worked tirelessly to expand Manitoba's provincial nominee program. She successfully negotiated with Ottawa to double Manitoba's immigration intake,
bringing new skills, cultures, and families to enrich our province. In 2003, she signed a landmark agreement increasing Manitoba's immigration target to 10,000 newcomers per year, a move that continues to shape the vibrancy of our communities today. She also brought forward legislation establishing Holocaust Memorial Day in Manitoba, underscoring her belief that remembrance and education are essential safeguards against intolerance and injustice. In late 2002, Becky announced she would not seek re-election. Yet, even after leaving formal office in 2003, she remained active within the NDP and within civic life. She served as a mentor, strategist, and wise counselor to many who followed her path. Her influence extended far beyond policy. She embodied the ideal of public service as a lifelong calling. Whether in a boardroom, a campaign office, or a community meeting hall, Becky's presence carried a sense of calm strength and clear purpose. What stands out most about Becky Barrett is the consistency between her values and her actions. She did not see politics as a ladder for personal gain, but as a platform for advancing fairness. She treated constituents, colleagues, and even opponents with respect, firm in debate, but never cruel, steadfast in belief, but always willing to listen. Her legacy is visible in our labor laws, in our safer workplaces, in our more inclusive communities, and in the thousands of Manitobans who have built new lives here because of her immigration work. But perhaps more importantly, her legacy lives in the people she mentored, the young organizers, public servants, and activists who found in her an example of integrity in politics. Those who worked with her remember her sense of humor, her meticulous attention to detail, and her ability to keep her team grounded when the pace of government felt overwhelming. She was both compassionate and exacting, a rare combination that earned her deep respect across party lines. On behalf of all members of this Assembly, I extend our deepest condolences to Becky Barrett's family, friends, and loved ones. To her family, please know that this legislature and indeed the province she served so faithfully share in your grief and gratitude. We are mindful of the personal sacrifice that public service demands, and we thank you for sharing Becky with Manitoba. As we reflect on Becky Barrett's life, we see the portrait of a woman who lived her values fully, who believed that government must be a force for good and that fairness is not a slogan, but a daily obligation. From her early days as a social worker to her transformative work as Minister of Labour and Immigration, she lived a life defined by purpose, compassion, and courage. Her journey reminds us that progress is not achieved in grand gestures alone, but in the steady work of those willing to listen, to act, and to care. May her example continue to guide us in this chamber and beyond it, reminding each of us that politics at its best is an act of service. May her memory be a blessing and her legacy a light that continues to shine to inspire all Manitobans. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education and Training.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I couldn't be prouder to stand in this place today to talk about Becky. We use a lot of lofty words in this chamber to describe how we feel, gratitude, privilege, honor. But today is pretty hard to describe because the feeling I have most right now is that I just want one more coffee, one more phone call, one more text message, one more kick in the pants. That would be good. Or one more late night agonizing over poll data and talking about cross-pressured voters. That would be fun too. I want to begin by offering my sincere condolences to Laura and to the rest of Becky's family, given and chosen. You know who you are. Sisters from labor, activism. There are very few lives in this province that haven't been touched by Becky or the work that she's done. There are many of us who know the feeling of relief when somebody says, call Becky, she'll know. we're thinking of everybody who is and has been feeling the loss of Becky. I can't count the number of times since being in this role that I've had the thought to call Becky or wonder aloud what would David do. Honorable Speaker, it seems surreal that Becky sat in this place, that we are sitting at the desk that she sat at. And, you know, I've participated in condolence motions before, Honorable Speaker, but never for somebody that I feel such a deep sense of loss about, and also because at the time that it occurred, we couldn't come together in a really meaningful way to grieve together. So forgive me, Honorable Speaker, I have Kleenex in front of me, and if the tears that I haven't cried yet come today, I beg the House's forgiveness in this. If she were here, Honorable Speaker, this is what I would want her to know. Becky, you wouldn't recognize the world we're living in. Trump was elected again. We survived the pandemic, but we're still weathering the fallout. We have a hard time being together sometimes. And Becky, we won. We did it. We won one of the toughest elections in our history. We elected our very first First Nations premier and the most diverse caucus in our history. You would have been so proud of our discipline and the way we united to bring Manitobans together. Becky, I don't know that everyone in here knows you, so I'll do my best to let them in on who they've missed out on. Rebecca Catherine Barrett, or simply Becky, to nearly everyone who knew her, lived a life that spanned countries, causes, and communities. She was an American by birth, but a Manitoban by choice and in spirit. And from the moment she made this province home, she embodied what it meant to be Manitoban. Friendly, kind, and always willing to help a person in need. She poured her heart into making Manitoba a better, fairer place every day that she lived. Becky was born in Pensacola, Florida. Yes, Florida. Oh, the irony. Into a family that valued hard work, education, and compassion. And those values would stay with her her whole life. She earned a bachelor's degree in English from the University of Chicago, a place known for bold ideas and intellectual independence, qualities Becky embodied in everything she did. Her early career took her to the heart of American politics, where she worked as an assistant to Congressman Ron Dellums of California, pardon me. That'd be a miracle. It was there that she found her calling, public service guided by principle. Congressman Dellums was a fierce advocate for civil rights, equality, and Becky carried those lessons with her forever. In '75, she crossed the border and began the next chapter of her life in Winnipeg. She came here seeking opportunity, but what she found and what she built was a legacy. She earned her master's degree in social work from the U of M, which grounded her political vision in empathy and human understanding. Her work soon drew her to us, our family, the Manitoba New Democrat Party, where she quickly became known for her intelligence, her tenacity, her ability to organize and inspire any room. And in the 80s, Becky served as the director of organizing for the NDP, where she helped lead campaigns that built connections in communities all across the province. She believed politics was people, not just polls and slogans, but people. Don't get me wrong. Again, she appreciated a good polling report with all of the crosstabs and loved to dive into deep conversations about cross-pressured voters with Leslie Turnbull. And in 1990, Becky was elected as the member of Legislative Assembly for Wellington, where she served with distinction until 2003. And during those 13 years, she brought passion, courage, and compassion to every debate and every decision. She served as a critic and later as a cabinet minister, holding several major portfolios, including labor, immigration, civil service, MPI, WCB, and multiculturalism. In each of these roles, Becky was a strong, steady voice for fairness. She believed deeply in the values of the labor movement, in dignity at work, safety on the job, and respect for every worker. She fought for better workplaces and safer communities, and she did it with both conviction and kindness. And I can't tell you how proud of us she would be for finally having anti-scab legislation here in Manitoba. We did it, Becky, finally. She was also a fierce advocate for multiculturalism and immigration, helping make Manitoba a place where newcomers could come build new lives with hope and opportunity. She believed that our diversity was not a challenge to overcome, but a strength to celebrate, which Honourable Speaker at that time was and sadly continues to be a very progressive view on the world. Becky was not afraid to stand her ground. She was tough when she needed to be, principled, articulate, and determined, but she was also deeply caring. Behind that sharp political mind was a generous heart, one that believed wholeheartedly in mentoring others and lifting them up. She trained and inspired countless organizers, staff, and candidates over the years. And many people in Manitoba politics today across all parties can trace some part of their learning back to her and what she taught us. She took the time to teach, to guide, and to believe in people even before they believed in themselves. Beyond politics, Becky lived life with joy, curiosity, and humor. She was a devoted grandmother, absolutely devoted to Adam and Ian. She called them the boys, and they were her pride and joy. Whether she was cheering them on, telling stories, or sharing her love of books and learning, she was happiest when she was with them. She loved to travel. In her later years, she and David took to cruising. I heard about these cruises endlessly. He's now convinced me that I may actually like to be on a boat in the middle of the ocean with no way off and a smorgasbord of good food. So if you ever see me on a cruise, it's thanks to David and Becky. Her openness to the world reflected her belief that understanding others makes us better as people and as citizens. She was also a lover of literature, often lost in a good book, and a volunteer who gave her time freely to the causes she believed in. She volunteered with the Evergreen Regional Library, supported community events, and stayed active in local and provincial NDP campaigns long after leaving office. Becky believed you never really stop serving your community, you just find new ways to do it. Honourable Speaker, when she told me how old she was one day, my jaw hit the floor. By Becky's energy and her dedication, she was ageless. She was a sports fan through and through, a lifelong fan of the Oakland A's and the New York Giants. I like to think she'd feel a smug Canadian pride about the Jays being in the World Series with all that's happening down south. I think she'd be on board. She cheered for her favorite teams and with equal enthusiasm against her least favorite ones, which made her such a great person to campaign with. That mix of passion and playfulness was pure Becky, strong opinions, sharp humor, and always ready for a good debate. But beneath her wit and confidence was a deep kindness. Becky showed up, always. And she knew just what to say when you were having a rough day. She was honest, sometimes brutally so. And she dove into the tough stuff head first. Former MLA for Southdale, Aaron Selby, told me Becky was a great cheerleader, your best champion, if she thought the path you were on would make you happy. She recalls a standing meeting she had with Becky every Saturday morning during elections. She called it her weekly therapy session, an opportunity to unwind and share with somebody who knew the challenge of being a female in politics, a woman who understood the feeling of not being taken seriously, of having to state, restate, and state again a solution or strategy to a problem. Of answering questions like, but who will take care of the kids? Or being told that politics isn't for women, it's a blood sport. I spoke with Teresa Oswald, the former MLA for St. River, who reminded me that Becky's birthday is May 1st, which for folks in labor, they'll understand the significance that May Day is Becky's birthday. I think it's just as it should be. I spoke to Paul, whose mom was very close since they met working together for the Manitoba NDP in the early 80s. And when Paul's mom was pregnant with Paul, she broke her leg, resulting in her giving birth having a cast from her knee down. Being the good friend she was, Becky was there to have that casted leg rest on her shoulder as Paul was being born. This is an example of Becky's character and also the beginning of her long-standing title of Aunt Becky. Becky, I hope you're proud to see how many more women there are on our side of the house. Manitobans elected a record number of us, along with a trans man and a non-binary rock star who could crush anyone in this chamber at basketball. I hope you know how all of the work you did to ensure we got a shot at this thing has paid off. I remember you telling me over breakfast in Ottawa during one of the federal conventions that as women who love politics, we have to step up. We have to push our chairs up to the table because we aren't going to be invited. And that we have an obligation to lift up the next generation too, to let people in, make them feel welcome, give them meaningful work, and set high standards because they'll reach them. You 100% led by example. You walked the walk. You inspired the next generation of NDPers, pushing us to take on leadership roles. And I know I wouldn't be here if not for your encouragement. Jill Stockwell, she's our current party president, unreal, right? Reminded me of how you pushed us to be brave and take on roles that felt so out of reach. You reminded us that the old guard wasn't always going to be around. You always ended your remarks by saying that you were leaving the party in good hands. Thank you for your confidence, Becky. We won't let you down. And that's who she was. And as much as this work in this building is what many will remember her for, make no mistake, labor laws in Manitoba were largely impacted by the phenomenal work of Becky Barrett. It was her work on the political side, the partisan NDP side, that had so much impact for so many of us. The feeling of getting tapped by Becky to do a job, like be a voter contact, help with convention, maybe run a zone house, make phone calls, drop leaflets, help train others, that was just the best feeling. It was like Becky has given me a gold star, and I am so excited to do the job that she's asked me to do. Becky was predeceased by her beloved partner, David Woodbury. They were both the best as individuals and as a team. Their partnership was one of mutual respect, shared values, and unwavering support. David was not only Becky's companion, but also her confidant, someone who understood the demands and sacrifices of public service. Together, they navigated the joys and challenges of life, drawing strength from each other's wisdom and kindness. As someone who looked up to Becky, and who also found her partner in politics, I saw in her relationship with David a model of how love and partnership can sustain us even through the most difficult times. With quick wit and sharp jabs, they were formidable. In preparing for today, I thought I might take down a walk down memory lane via Facebook, because there's this wild thing where you can still see posts and profiles from people who have passed. And that reminded me that David passed suddenly on November 10th, 2021. And on January 2nd, 2022, Becky suffered the stroke that ultimately took her from us. And in the many posts and photos that I sniffled my way through, I was reminded of their impact on me and my own husband's lives. Becky Barrett's legacy is one of service, conviction, and compassion. She leaves behind policies that improve people's lives, a party that she helped strengthen, and a province that she helped shape. But most importantly, she leaves behind a lesson that politics at its very best is about people, full stop. It's about listening. It's about believing that every person deserves respect and opportunity. And to Becky's family, given and chosen, please know that her impact reaches far beyond this chamber. Her work helped build the Manitoba we know today, and her mentorship built the next generation of leaders. Her example continues to remind us all what it means to serve with integrity, courage, and heart. So today, we don't just mourn her passing, we truly celebrate her life. It was a life of purpose, of principle, and a life that truly made a difference. Becky, thank you. I wore this bright, flashy color for you today. I know you like the bright colors. And we just miss you so, so very much. I hope that you see how much the work that you've done has impacted all of us, and that there's a little glimmer of hope and pride for what we're doing. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of my business, mining, trade, and job creation.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I want to just begin by sending my deepest and most sincere condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones of Becky Barrett. Becky Barrett had unquestionably a profound legacy on Manitoba NDP, our entire province. And the great thing about Becky is my time getting to know her is that she could find ways to do this in many, many ways. She did this early on as her time in Manitoba as an organizer in the NDP and in the labor movement. She did this throughout her career as an MLA, then becoming a minister. After her time as elected official, she found a way to have that profound legacy as a mentor and a champion to so many of us who sit in the chamber today and who are now very active in the social justice and labor movement. It's because of Becky's legacy. It's because of this work she did. We heard, and I think by the presence not only of former MLAs and friends and family who are gathered here today in the chamber, we know that the impact that Becky Barrett had on the province of Manitoba was so wide-reaching. From her legacy, understanding the commitment to community, and the fact that the problems we face and that we address as community are not just theoretical, they're real. And every time I had a chance to interact with Becky, she would be able, in such an articulate way, be able to boil this really complex, multifaceted issue into a real-life example. How is this going to affect a real Manitoban? And what is this going to do to improve the lives of the people who we are aiming to serve? Becky had that unique and special ability to do that and make sure that she kept us focused on policies and legislation that were centered around people, centered around the everyday lives of Manitobans. And so I know that she did this as her time as an MLA. And I know she did this as a time as a minister, where she held a variety of cabinet portfolios and responsibilities, including labor, immigration, the civil servants, public and Manitoba Public Insurance, and Workers' Compensation Board, and multiculturalism. And she championed those areas in everything that she did, and she took them very seriously to heart, with a keen eye to making sure that her roots in labor and social justice were present in every decision that she made. I remember one of the first times I had a chance to interact with Becky. This would have been around 2014. And so she had already had this incredible career as an MLA, and she's out there presenting, I think it was maybe at a provincial council meeting or something like that. I'm in the back as a new member, and Becky was up at the front, and I said, you know what, I gotta go talk to the most important people in the room at the end of the meeting when the things are done. And so I had to worked out my courage, and I just had a chance to have a quick chat, and it was Becky Barrett, who was Leslie Turnbull, and at the time was Nancy Morrison, were the people I wanted to talk to. And just from that sense, that quick conversation, I got a sense that she was a powerhouse in what she did. She knew exactly how to have that strategic acumen that would help bring communities together and articulate a political voice and bring that into action, but at the same time, have an incredible sense of caring and a sense of personality and wit that would make you at ease, especially as someone who is new to understanding the world of politics. She did an incredible job of bringing people together and inspiring people to get the most out of them. And I can say that from firsthand experience as well. I'll also say that every time I was fortunate enough to have a meeting with Becky, sometime during that meeting, either as she was coming in or before she left, she was either telling us something about the boys. It was either showing us pictures of in a time that she had gone out with the boys and hung out with them, or that she said, I'm sorry, I've got to rush from this meeting because I've got to go and hang out with the boys. Of course, the boys are her two grandsons, Adam and Ian. And we're so excited that they got a chance to experience that and know her in such a deep way. And that shows that you can have such a person who is so strategic and passionate about making our province a better place and can have the ability to dive deep into policy work that is going to have lasting impacts long beyond her time in elected office, but at the same time have that heart and caring for the people around her in her life. And that's what made her so special, that she could spend that time, that countless hours organizing and strategizing, bringing staff together, helping new candidates, making sure that we were all on our right path when it came to our political journeys and influence in a real way, but still make time for the people who were the most important in her life. And every time she did have those conversations about the boys, you can sense that sense of pride in her, that sense of joy that it filled. And you could tell that she was the happiest when she was hanging out with them. Now, getting to know Becky and David, they were, I think, rock stars. They were stars in what they did, who were able to bring together, I would say, such passion and dedication to the cause. And one thing that I saw and I learned from Becky just by watching and observing the way she operated was that for her, the work of bringing more social justice into our society, that work in itself, regardless of the impact and the long-lasting positive change it's going to have, and it has had, on our province, regardless of that actual impact, the work itself that Becky put in was worth it. She put in so many long hours and had so many calls and conversations to make sure that myself and other people in this chamber are able to be here today. And that work in itself was worth it. And so I learned so much about that work ethic, the dedication and the passion of working whether or not you know there's going to be an end result, hoping you get that, but knowing that the work itself is going to be worth it. And she was able to do that work with incredible humor and an incredible amount of heart. And so I know that she shared all that passion with her partner, David Woodbury, who, of course, were always the champions of Gimli and the Interlake region, and always encouraging us to hold more NDP events there and make sure that we always champion that part of Manitoba. She, of course, leaves behind so many people who are her living legacies in this chamber. And by living legacies, I mean people who are able to stand on her shoulders and continue the work that she did. I myself have learned so much from her. And I know that so many colleagues around this chamber have either had calls with her or working through mentors like Nancy Allen and others who say, oh, we got to talk to Becky, we got to talk to David about how to handle this issue, how to make sure this is right. And the work that they put in helped me get elected and be here to represent on her legacy. And that's what I mean about her profound legacy has had an impact on Manitoba and has had an impact on the entire province. And so whether we remember Becky from her time as an organizer, her time as an MLA, or as a minister, whether we recognize Becky and acknowledge her legacy as a friend or a family member, someone who's been strong and passionate about the labor movement, whether we remember her as an incredible champion or an iconic mentor, we know that we will always listen and care for the words and the work that Becky Barrett provided to all of us, that has impacted every single one of us. So, to all her friends and family who are here and those watching online, know that Becky Belt helped to build the better Manitoba that we know today. That her mentorship nourished a generation of leaders. That her spirit finds a way to inspire us, even to this day. And that on behalf of myself and our team, we know that her compassion, her power, and her public service are what we will remember as Becky Barrett. Thank you for your wisdom, Becky. Thank you for your unwavering laughter and kindness. Thank you for being an example of commitment and of passion. We will miss you dearly, but your legacy will last in all of us. Thank you.
The honourable member for Kildonan River East.
Honourable Speaker, it is with a heavy heart that I rise today on behalf of my constituents of Kildonan River East to acknowledge the great life of Rebecca Catherine Barrett, or simply known as Becky to almost all of us that knew her. Though I don't remember specifically the first time we met in person, I was well aware of her legendary, strong presence and accomplishments long before our first date. Beneath her wit and confidence was a deep kindness. Becky was the kind of friend who showed up, who called when you were having a rough day, who lent a hand without being asked. She was a true New Democrat. As it was already mentioned, she started her life off in America, but when she made her way to Manitoba, she fully embraced what it means to be a Manitoban. She was drawn to our Manitoba New Democratic Party, and this is where I met her as a young New Democrat. She was well known for her intelligence, tenacity, and her ability to organize and inspire. In the 1980s, Becky served as the Director of Organizing for the Manitoba NDP, where she helped lead campaigns that built connections in communities all across our great province. And, as mentioned, she believed politics was people, and not just polls or slogans, but all about people. In 1990, Becky was elected for the first time as the member of Legislative Assembly for Wellington. For the first 9 years of her career, she toughed it out in the horrific opposition days, the austerity days of the 1990s Filmon government. She brought passion, courage, and, as mentioned, mutual respect for all of her colleagues, for every debate and every decision. Becky was part of that original team who rose from opposition to government in the historic 1999 win. In 1999, it was already mentioned, but I have to say it again, Becky ran in Inkster against Kevin Lamoureux, and she won. Let that sink in. Becky beat the sitting MLA, the incumbent, Kevin Lamoureux. And after this historic win, she served in multiple cabinet portfolios, including labor, immigration, civil service, Manitoba Public Insurance, the Workers' Compensation Board, and multiculturalism. In preparation for today, I spoke to some of Becky's close friends and former colleagues, and I learned that she was the first to arrive here in the morning and the last to leave at night. Lloyd Schreier, who is a senior advisor to the Dewar government on labor relations, worked closely with Becky when she was that minister, sent in a story that I will table at the end of my motion. He said, while Becky was Minister of Labor, she passed cutting-edge workers' compensation, WCB legislation, extending workers' compensation coverage to firefighters in Manitoba for cancers and related illnesses caused by exposure to chemicals, Plastics and other toxic materials and substances ignited and intensified by fires that our firefighters fight each and every day. This legislation was the first of its kind in North America. It was cutting edge. Prior to this legislation, firefighters who contracted these illnesses in their fire workplaces were on their own without any workers' compensation coverage. And not only was this legislation a first of its kind in North America, it became the precedented prototype, the model, the example for similar legislation subsequently passed in jurisdictions all across North America. Boyd went on to say that Becky was invited by the firefighters to attend a firefighters function, recognizing and celebrating the passage of this life-changing legislation. He shared that the firefighters function was held at the Chinese Cultural Center, a very large hall he described in the Exchange District of Winnipeg. The hall accommodated approximately 500 people, and it was full to capacity and beyond. Lloyd accompanied Becky to this event and shared, when Becky arrived, walked into the hall, the place erupted. And I mean absolutely erupted. Thunderous applause broke out. People on stage were crying. I thought the applause was never going to stop. The ill firefighters and their families now had a lifeline, new hope. They and all firefighters were absolutely grateful and absolutely showed it. And it needs to be noted, Becky Barrett shepherded this all from idea to draft to pending legislation to passage to law. Thank you, Becky. She was not afraid to stand her ground. She was brave and she wasn't scared to push back. There are certain stories that I was told I wasn't allowed to mention here today, but I'll just say again, she wasn't scared to push back. She was tough when she needed to be, principled, articulate, and determined. Behind that sharp political mind was such a generous heart, one that believed in mentoring others and lifting them up. And this is how I personally interacted with Becky initially, like mentioned, when I was a young New Democrat. She was always willing to support youth and especially women. As previously mentioned, she trained and inspired countless organizers, staff, and candidates over the years. Many people in Manitoba politics today across all parties can trace some part of their learning back to Becky. Also, as mentioned, Becky was predeceased by her beloved partner, David Woodbury. She faced this loss with remarkable grace, always finding strength in her family, her friends, and her work. David and Becky were a dynamic duo. Those who knew them together were lucky to have had their life touched by such lovely, committed humans. Together, they made this world a better place. David played an influential role in helping us rebuild the party to the position where we are now. And Premier was quoted saying in 2021 Winnipeg Free Press article, which I'll also table at the end of my motion, he really helped me as a leader stepping into this role. The reason I mention this is because Becky and David were a team. Premier also went on to say David is largely responsible for the 10 balanced budgets that Gary Dewar tabled because he was working behind the scenes in the Department of Finance at the time. After David became our NDP president in 2017, he and I spoke, and I asked him for help with something going on in Northeast Winnipeg. He said he would look into it further and get back to me. After further review, David did get back to me, and I'll be honest, it was not the answer I was hoping for. Almost a decade ago, I would not have truly appreciated that moment when David told me no to what I was asking for. But in my current role as MLA for Kildonan River East, I value that moment with David. The fact is, almost every single day in this role, I have to say no to people. David was honest, accountable, and he had the respect and courage to have that direct conversation with me. Becky Barrett's legacy is one of service, conviction, and compassion. She leaves behind policies and legislation that improved people's lives, a party she helped strengthen, and a province that she helped shape. Most of all, she taught us that politics is about listening. It's about caring. It's about believing that every person deserves respect and opportunity. So thank you, Becky, for all of your love and lessons. May you rest in peace.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I just want to take a moment to thank my colleagues who've put such beautiful words on the record in memory of Becky, and I think they've done such an amazing job of capturing who she was and the legacy that she's left, not just in this place, but as a person. And I wanted to just offer my own condolences to the family and to the friends and the supporters of Becky, her crew, just an amazing group of people that she surrounded herself with, and to have some of those folks here in this chamber is a real honor. You know, again, the word legend has been used a number of times. I think there's no better word to describe Becky. She was one of a kind. We've heard about her legacy in this place. You know, she was somebody who met challenges head on, never shied away from the hard work and from engaging in challenging or difficult issues, and always doing them for the right reasons. And the legacy that she leaves in terms of the legislation, I think the Premier captured that perfectly. Things we take for granted that we think are just a part of who we are now are because of Becky. But she's also a legend and left a legacy in terms of her organizing, and we've heard some of that here as well from other members who got to know her from that side of the politics, from the organizing side, and that was my connection to Becky as well. You know, I got to know her when I was just a kid, getting involved in politics because I wanted to make a difference in my community, and I found a kindred spirit in Becky and her approach. She never put on any airs. She had no ego. She was, as I said, a legendary cabinet minister and organizer in the party, and she never treated me or any of the young folks who were getting involved in any other way than being so kind and generous and supportive in the work that we were doing. I learned a lot from her, and I was inspired by her. That carried on. I had a chance to organize across the country and in different provinces, and one of my favorite experiences was walking into a random room in a campaign in BC and finding Becky plugging away in a back room. Again, no ego, you know, not doing it for the show, but doing it for the go. And she was elbows deep in that campaign and doing it for the right reasons. And you know, there's a lot of reasons why people get involved in politics, but I believe that Becky showed us all that the real reason is to help people, to make the place, the country, the province a better place, and to help those that are the most vulnerable and that need the most help. That was Becky's attitude, and that's what she carried on. Again, well past her time in this place, you know, even as a former cabinet minister, never stopped working. As a few people have mentioned, we lost Becky during a time when we didn't have a chance to come together, and so I so appreciate this time that we can have in this legislature, that we can just take a moment to remember Becky's life and to celebrate it, and to come together to grieve, but also to be thankful for the time that we had with Becky. So again, my sincere thanks to the family who has joined us here today and for so many years has supported Becky in her work and allowed us to have her in our lives. And my deepest condolences to all those lives and all those people that she's touched. Yeah, I miss Becky, and I think she's just an incredible person that will live on in a lot of our hearts and certainly in mine, and continue to guide me for many years to come. So thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Labour and Immigration.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I want to begin by offering my deepest condolences to Becky's family, to her daughter, Laura Kuipers, her son-in-law, Marty Heck, her beloved grandsons, Adam and Ian, and to her sisters, Patricia James and Melissa Keller, and her stepsister, Nancy Leachman-Stoller. Becky was actually my MLA when I was growing up. And my MP was Judy Washalishali. How could you go wrong with having your MLA being Becky Barrett and your MP being Judy W? These were women who went out of their way to reach into the Filipino community at that time when nobody else was doing that. You know, being a newcomer, a lot of your preoccupation is actually just survival, not, you know, entering into political discourse. But both Judy and Becky came into our lives and into many newcomers' lives in the areas that they represented to make sure that we were part of this discourse, that our concerns and the things that we needed to improve in our lives were also part of this discourse. And they did that because of how much they cared really about the community in general, but also making sure that the folks that might be the most vulnerable, especially the vulnerable workers, had a voice. So I'll always remember Becky for going that extra mile and making sure that newcomers had a voice in this province. She went on to actually, you know, invite my mother, Flor Marcelino, and my father as part of the different NDP activities. We had been NDP members on and off since the early 80s. There's actually this one little advertisement that included my father and my brother Diwa as a 8-month-old. So we've been part of the NDP for a long time, but not in the, you know, the daily activities, but it was Becky and Judy that brought us in. So in many ways, I wouldn't be the Labor and Immigration Minister today if it weren't for Becky. Standing on the progress that was made under Becky's watch for the labor and immigration files has put us in a position right now as an NDP government to be able to take it to the next level for workers across Manitoba and for newcomers across Manitoba. Just such tremendous work. We're so very appreciative of all the gains that were made under Becky's tenure in labor and immigration. In the 90s and in the 2000s, the Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program was at the height of its success. And that was due to the leadership of Becky. And we have fallen short since that time. The gains that were made under those times in terms of the population growth and also you know, just a better running immigration system. But because of the leadership that she showed at that time, we are, again, as an NDP government, making those gains once again to make sure that we can power the next generation here in Manitoba. For all the labor gains that were made under Becky's watch, again, this is a foundation from which our government can now grow on. I think Becky would be very pleased to see that last year we continued, you know, work that was very important for first responders, including firefighters, on being the first jurisdiction to have psychological safety and health in our legislation. providing that type of safety and health for workers for the first time, any jurisdiction. The work that we're doing to make improvements for violence in the workplace for workers, work that we're working on right now to make sure that we can have full pay equity here in the province, and to make gains for folks in the care sector, and more. We are standing on the shoulders of folks like Becky, and we're so appreciative of all the efforts that she has made over the years because of that. The last time that I saw Becky was in October of 2021. We were in Brandon for a caucus retreat, and she and David came by to do a presentation for us. We were in opposition, and it was in the middle of the pandemic, and they came by to do a presentation on organizing and to give us an idea of what exactly it would take to change a government. There's a big difference between winning an election when you're already in government and having that big breakthrough change election. And they were there with us, this class of 2019 NDP opposition MLAs, to really try to press it upon us what it would take in terms of organizing, discipline, dedication, and just some quick sheets for how to actually do this. They spent that time, David and Becky, with us to give us their guidance, to give us their love and encouragement. And I would have to say that without that, I don't know that we'd be here in that short of a time span. But it was that presence, that support that we were given that I will really appreciate always. Our other colleagues have said it. She and David won't be forgotten. They mean so much to us. And it was very difficult not to be able to say goodbye in person. They will be in our hearts. They will be in our policies. And we will continue their legacy and continue to fight the good fight, especially for vulnerable workers in our province, making sure that people's voices are reflected here in this place. So again, I'd like to thank Becky's family for lending us to her, lending us Becky. We know it takes a lot out of a family to not have your mom and grandma, sister around as much. It's a big sacrifice having a life in politics. And we want to thank you for giving us Becky's time that way. And we promise, and this is an NDP government that is very committed to fulfilling its promises. And we promise to continue David and Becky's legacy here in this province. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The question before the House is that this House convey to the family of the late Rebecca Becky Catherine Barrett, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of her devotion to duty and a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family. I would ask members to please rise and remain standing to indicate their support for the motion. The motion is accordingly passed. We will now consider a condolence motion for Harold Neufeld, former MLA for Rossmere. The honourable member for Morden Winkler.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, seconded by the member from Roblin, that this House convey to the family of the late Harold Neufeld, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in the bereavement and the appreciation of his devotion to duty in a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family.
It has been moved by the honourable member for Morden Winkler and seconded by the member for Roblin that this House convey to the family of the late Harold Neufeld, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of his devotion to duty and a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family. The floor is open for speakers. The honourable member for Morden Winkler.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I would like to take the time today to remember the life and contributions of a former member of this House, Harold Neufeld. It's an honor for me to stand today to speak on the condolence motion this afternoon to honor Harold for his service to Manitobans. Harold began his career helping the public as a chartered accountant in 1954. Elected in 1988, Harold Neufeld became the Progressive Conservative MLA for Rossmere and served his constituency with pride and dedication. During his tenure at the legislature, Harold was a cabinet minister in the government of Gary Filmon from 1988 to 1992. Serving as the Minister of Energy and Mines and Minister responsible for seniors and member of the Treasury Board. Harold will be remembered for his unique, important, and often colorful influence on the debates of this House, as well as his considerable talent as an analyst acquired through his lengthy career as a chartered accountant. He had a great mind for financial management and firmly believed that fiscal responsibility is one of the keys to good government. Always looking forward, Mr. Neufeld held a deep concern for Manitoba's future. Nicknamed Honest Harold, Harold Neufeld had a reputation for always telling the truth. He spoke out, he was direct, his voice had lots of concern. Trustworthiness was the utmost importance as an elected representative to the people, and Harold Neufeld understood that deeply. Harold was a proponent of open government discussion and direct communication. During his years as an MLA, he earned a great deal of respect from his colleagues for his abilities and willingness to communicate with all sides. To Harold Neufeld, good governance was a collaborative process. A lifelong Mennonite, Harold joined the executive of Menno Simons College and became chair of the Menno Simons College Foundation after his retirement from the legislature. Harold was deeply connected to his heritage, his faith, and his belief system. And he came from the same community that I came from. And we're both Mennonites, obviously. And I find that I have a lot of connection, even though we never met. I have a lot of connection with him because I have the same deep connection to my heritage and my faith also, and my belief systems. Honorable Speaker, we offer our deepest condolences to Mr. Neufeld's family and loved ones. Thank you for offering to let him be an MLA to serve those of us in the province. And I know it takes time away from your family, so we appreciate that gift from his family. It is with great honor and respect that I take the opportunity to reaffirm those values of honesty and responsibility that Harold stood for. I hope to be the same, do my best to do the same. We can all learn from Harold's legacy. Thank you to Harold Neufeld for the time and service you gave to the constituents of Rossmere and to all Manitobans. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Rossmere.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. It is a great honour to rise today to pay tribute to Harold John Neufeld, a respected former member who passed away peacefully on July 12, 2025 at the remarkable age of 97. It is an honour to do so as the MLA for Rossmere, a role and an honour I share with the late Mr. Neufeld, the Honourable late Mr. Neufeld. On behalf of all members, I want to extend my deepest condolences to Harold's family, his wife Verdine, their children, grandchildren, and extended family. Our thoughts are with you as you remember a life so well lived. We share in your sorrow, and we honor the memory of a man who gave much to his community and his province. Harold was born in Altona, Manitoba on October 10th of 1927. He was one of 5 children of Isaac and Agatha Neufeld. His family moved to Winnipeg in 1939, where Harold completed his schooling and his education. Before entering public life, Harold led a varied and successful career. He was a talented athlete, playing 1 season with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in 1949 before hanging up his cleats to pursue further education. He went on to become a chartered accountant, applying the same discipline and determination to his professional life that he once brought to the football field. In 1951, Harold married Verdine Marion Scott at the Mennonite Brethren Church in North Kildonan. Together, they built a loving family, raising 2 daughters and later welcoming grandchildren who brought them great pride and joy. Harold first sought elected office in 1986 as the Progressive Conservative candidate for Rossmere. Though he was not successful in that very first campaign, he demonstrated the perseverance that was a hallmark of his character. 2 years later, in 1988, he was elected to the Legislative Assembly and re-elected again in 1990. During his time in government, Harold served as the Minister of Energy and Mines from 1988 to 1992. He served as the minister responsible for the Manitoba Hydro Act from 88 to 92 and minister responsible for seniors from 1988 to 1989. In 1993, Harold made the tough choice to step down from cabinet, explaining that he wished honorably to spend more time with his family and his grandchildren. It was a decision that reflected his deep commitment to those closest to him. Harold Neufeld lived a long and meaningful life marked by service and dedication, whether through his professional career, his time in public office, or his many contributions to our community. He left behind a legacy of integrity and respect. On behalf of all members of this House, I extend sincere condolences to Verdine, their family, and all who knew, loved, and mourn Harold today. May they find comfort in knowing the impact he had on our province, the province that he served so faithfully. Harold Neufeld lived a long and meaningful life. He contributed to this province through his professional work, through his time in government, and as the MLA for Rossmere, I want to thank Harold and his entire family for their service and all of their many contributions to our beautiful community, the constituency of Rossmere. Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Lakeside.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. And I rise today to pay tribute to a man whose life and work reflected honesty, humility, and a deep commitment to doing what was right. I speak of the Honourable Harold Neufeld, former member of the Legislative Assembly for Rossmere and Cabinet Minister in the Progressive Conservative government of the late 1980s and early 1990s. We remember him today not just as a public servant, but as a man of quiet strength and integrity. Harold passed away on July 12, 2025, and while his passing is a loss for all Manitobans, his life leaves behind a powerful example of what it means to serve with purpose and conscience. Harold Neufeld was born on October 10, 1927 in Altona, Manitoba. He grew up in a close-knit Mennonite community that valued hard work, faith, and helping others. Those lessons shaped his entire life. From an early age, Harold believed that being honest, careful, and respectful were not just good qualities, they were the right way to live. He became a chartered accountant in 1954, a profession that suited him perfectly. Accounting requires diligence, patience, and a sense of duty, and Harold had all three. His colleagues described him as steady, trustworthy, and fair. Over the years, he built a reputation for being someone you could always rely on to tell you the truth. Many called him Honest Harold, and the name fit. In 1988, Harold decided to take his sense of responsibility into public life. He was elected as the Progressive Conservative MLA for Rossmere. From the very beginning, he stood out for his thoughtful approach and calm presence. He wasn't one to speak for the sake of being heard. When he spoke, people listened because his words came from careful thought and genuine care for others. His hard work and sound judgment earned him a place in cabinet under Premier Gary Filmon. He served as Minister of Energy and Mines, Minister responsible for seniors, Minister responsible for Manitoba Hydro, and as a member of the Treasury Board. In each of those roles, Harold brought his accountant's eye for detail and his deep sense of fairness. He believed that government should always act responsibly with the public's money, and that every decision should be made with the long-term good of the province in mind. Harold had a remarkable ability to combine financial discipline with compassion. He understood that numbers were only part of the story, that behind every policy were real people whose lives would be affected. As Minister of Energy and Mines, he worked to balance economic growth with care for Manitoba's natural environment. As Minister responsible for seniors, he advocated for policies that treated older Manitobans with dignity and respect. He was never one to raise his voice or seek attention. Instead, he worked quietly and consistently, building trust through his actions. In meetings, he was known for asking precise and pointed questions. He wanted to understand every angle before making a decision, and he expected the same level of honesty from others that he always gave himself. Harold believed in open and honest government. He valued real discussion, not empty talking points. He felt that when people spoke truthfully and listened to one another, better decisions were made. He once said that good governance is a shared effort, and he lived that belief every day. In 1993, Harold made a difficult decision that defined his career and his character. He chose to resign from cabinet and later from the legislature. After leaving politics, Harold continued to live a life of service. He never stopped giving back to his community. He served on the executive of Menno Simons College and later became chair of the Menno Simons College Foundation. His involvement reflected his faith and his belief that education and understanding could make the world a better place. Those who knew Harold describe him as a man of deep faith and quiet generosity. He lived by example. He didn't preach, he practiced. His kindness showed in how he treated people, with respect, patience, and compassion. Harold was devoted to his wife, Verdine, and to their daughters and family. He was proud of them, and he always made sure they knew that. His home was a place of warmth and steadiness. No matter how demanding public life became, family always came first. Friends and colleagues remember him as calm and grounded. He had a way of making people feel heard and valued, whether they were constituents, co-workers, or strangers. He had a quiet confidence that reassured others, even in difficult times. Honorable Speaker, it's easy to measure a political career by the number of years served or the titles held. But the true measure of a person's service lies in the trust they earn and the example that they leave behind. By that measure, Harold Neufeld's legacy is lasting and profound. He showed that you could lead with both principle and kindness. He proved that physical discipline and compassion can go hand in hand. He demonstrated that honesty and humility are not weaknesses in politics, they are its greatest strengths. His influence continues to be felt today in the way that we think about responsibility in public service. His careful approach to managing Manitoba's finances, his dedication to fairness, and his respect for the democratic process all remain part of his legacy. To Harold's wife, Verdine, to his daughters, grandchildren, and extended family, we offer our deepest condolences. Your loss is shared by this entire legislature and by Manitobans across the province. We know that behind every public servant stands a family that sacrifices quietly, all in service of something greater than themselves. Please know that your sacrifices were not unnoticed. The example Harold set continues to inspire those who serve today. His honesty, his faith, and his devotion to family and community made Manitoba better. Honourable Speaker, as we reflect on Harold Neufeld's life, we are reminded that integrity in public life is not a thing of the past. It is a living standard, one that people like Harold helped define. His life challenges us all to remember why we serve and who we serve. Harold's example shows that leadership is not about ambition, but about character. It's about listening, caring, and standing by one's values, even when it's not easy to do so. He carried himself with quiet dignity and never forgot that politics is a form of public trust. As we honor his memory today, let us also recommit ourselves to the values that guided him: honesty, humility, and service to others. Harold Neufeld's time with us has ended, but his influence endures. His life was one of purpose and decency. He served this province with integrity and left it better than he found it. May his memory be a blessing to his family and to all who had the privilege of knowing him. And may we honor him best by living up to the example that he had set. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
If there are no more members, then the question before the House is that this House convey to the family of the late Harold Neufeld, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of his devotion to duty in a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family. And I would ask all members to please rise and remain standing to indicate their support for the motion. Thank you. The motion is accordingly passed. Petitions, grievances, the Honourable Member for Waverley.
That was before petitions, sorry. That before petitions were meant to, yeah. Okay.
Honourable Member for Waverley.
On House business?
The Honourable Member for Waverley on House business.
Great. I had a chance to speak with the member opposite, and so I just wanted to try this one more time. I would like to ask for leave to move through all report stage amendments of Bill 48 before we see the clock again.
Is there leave to move through all report stage amendments to Bill 48 before we see the clock? Is there leave? Leave has been denied. We will now resume debate on concurrence and third reading motions. No. Orders of the day, government business. The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'd like to call for the resumption of concurrence and third reading on Bill 48. Sorry, report stage amendments of Bill 48.
We will now resume debate on report stage amendments for Bill 48, standing in the name of the Honourable Member for Waverley, who has 6 minutes remaining. The Honourable Member for Waverley.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. As I had started yesterday, the key point that I really wanted to lean into on this bill specifically, and what this first amendment also specifically would shut down, was the fine work being done by community paramedics within 75 Martha, and the right care at the right place at the right time that is so central to this legislation that we're discussing today. And ultimately what we're trying to do is just provide more tools, more time for the people that are doing this important work in the community, going from 24 hours within the Intoxicated Persons Detention Act to 72 hours. And this comes directly from the people who are doing this work. Right? This is coming from police, from paramedics, from firefighters, from the folks who are actually seeing this. And in fact, there was even discussion among opposition years ago when they were in government, and I believe it was Cameron Friesen, the Minister of Health at the time, that ultimately said police officers have limited options for dealing with individuals who are intoxicated. And they told the PCs that they needed to look into a legislative amendment of the Intoxicated Persons Detention Act to address some of the unique time challenges related to meth addiction. So I think it's really important to note that this was in 2019, right? They were in government.
Order, please. If I could get the member to make sure he's focusing his comments on the amendment specifically, not on the bill overall. The Honourable Member for Waverley.
Honourable Speaker, I absolutely appreciate your guidance, but this is directly related to the amendment, because if this amendment goes through, it actually closes down the space that we're using right now to help these people. And so it is absolutely ridiculous to me that we're having this conversation about this First Amendment where they want to actually put restrictions in place that would disallow us from actually doing this work. And as I was saying, and I'm trying to get sort of back to the point I was making here about what was going on. This was 6 years ago. And I know that they don't necessarily want us talking about the fact that they had years and years to do this work that's being recommended by the police and firefighters and paramedics that do it to actually help folks in our community. There are even articles that I've been reading that are saying basically, we're trying to work on a problem here, and the opposition would rather just let it go away, right? And we've been seeing that commentary as well. The task force that was assembled by the former PC Minister of Health saw that existing detox centers, including the facility at Main Street Project, the one in discussion today with this amendment specifically, were making our streets safer. And I mentioned also yesterday that that same space is saving many, many bed hours at hospitals. It is saving money within the healthcare system. And most importantly, above all else, money aside, it's helping people. It's doing the work of actually helping the people who are dealing, and specifically going to 72 hours because it's a clinical decision. helping people dealing with meth addiction and meth psychosis. And it also, let's be honest, and the Premier touched on this as well, it is a safety issue as well to make sure that both the people who are dealing with this important and difficult issue and the people that it could affect on the street are protected. And you know, I've actually spoken in the last couple of weeks to a number of the folks who work within the facility that we're talking about, and they have said some of the words that they've heard from folks in this chamber, because they've been paying attention, have been pretty offensive. It is suggestive of a system or folks that are working within the system that do not have the capacity or the ability to deal with the issues that are being brought forward, the important health issues. And so I, again, just want to make sure that we're lifting up the people who are doing this work. And I know that we keep saying that this is straying away from the amendment, but is directly related to the amendments that we're talking about, this First Amendment. So I can try to pull it up here just so I can specifically show you how it is connected, but I don't have the amendment right in front of me. Oh, here it is. Okay, so a facility or a part of a facility must not be designated as a protective care center under Clause 12. So if the facility or part of the facility is within 500 meters from the parcel of land, then it lists quite a few different parcels of land. And so I'm not sure if they've visited 75 Martha, if they're aware of the work that goes on there, if they're aware that it is a gold standard across Canada, that people within community paramedic programs across this country look to it as an example of treatment that is equitable and fair and is really just giving humanity to people who are going through a difficult time. That space would not be able to function. And so I don't feel that they have done the research around this amendment. We'll move on to the other amendments. We can have discussions about those. Those are separate issues. But specifically with this first one, I just have a great deal of trouble supporting what they've brought forward based on the fact that these folks who are doing this work would not be able to continue doing that if this were to pass. So thank you, Honourable Speaker. I appreciate the time to put some words on the record for this amendment. I simply cannot support it in good conscience.
The Honourable Member for Fort Garry.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I've been listening with great interest. My friend from Waverley's rather limp response from the government in relation to this amendment, one that I think is necessary and one that I have to support. Through his representations to this chamber, I was trying to discern, there was actually 2 points that he made, one that was factually completely inaccurate and one that is completely problematic. The inaccurate point, the fear-mongering, is that somehow if this amendment passes, that we're going to have to shut down our current sobering center, 75 Martha. Well, the Act creates a legal definition, and 190 Disraeli is a protective care center. 75 Martha is not. By virtue of the Act, it would not fall under the legal jurisdiction of the Act. And so the fear-mongering, the absolute gaslighting is not helpful for a government which is struggling with trust issues in the people of Manitoba. The second issue, which is more concerning because it seems to be the rationale about why they're opposed to this very reasonable amendment, and to quote my friend, is that we've set it in this space because there's a high concentration of people with these needs. That is the issue. We heard from the good people of Point Douglas, who actually came to here and universally condemned this Bill 48 and putting the jail in their neighborhood. And that's what this is. We're talking about putting a jail in Point Douglas, and they are opposed to it. And I met with them. They've come to my office here in the legislature. I spent the time, I met with the community, and I heard them out. And unfortunately, the media, well, at least one sort of columnist from the Winnipeg Free Press, has been very condescending to these people, very disrespectful, talked down to them, has never walked a mile in their shoes, and dismissed them as ignorant NIMBYs that somehow don't care about their community. To a person that I met These are all New Democrat supporters. These are all people who voted NDP in the last election and felt fundamentally betrayed by this government. They, in fact, met with the Premier, and that meeting did not go well. In fact, they described their meeting with the Premier as him being condescending and dismissive and demeaning with them, and he actually went out and said to people, long-term residents of Point Douglas, that they do not represent the community they live in, but apparently the Premier does. Apparently the Premier and this minister know better than the people that actually live in this community what's good for them. And here's the problem. The concentration of people in that neighborhood who need these services, according to my friend from Waverley. Point Douglas residents are tired. They do not want their community to be a dumping ground for all of Manitoba's social problems. They have enough. They have enough problems, and they have been ignored by this government, and this government hasn't provided any supports or help for that community. These are good people
please.
Who are...
I'm just struggling to see the relevance to the amendment to the bill with the member's comments, so if he could bring it back to the amendments, I'd appreciate that. The Honourable Member for Fort Garry.
I absolutely will, Honourable Speaker. This amendment was brought in response to the concerns of the people of Point Douglas. This, in fact, was tailor-made to what their concerns are. So I want to go through what their concerns are and why we need an amendment like this. So their concerns is that their neighborhood is already saturated with these type of social services, and the problem is when you place these social services in their neighborhood, it becomes a magnet. It draws people in. And of course, the people that are being drawn in are people with significant challenges and vulnerabilities. These are people who often have mental health issues or addictions who are now coming into the neighborhood who weren't previously there before, and this is causing collateral problems to the community. And keep in mind, this government knows this and hasn't provided any supports to them. So we know from media reports and the fact that there have been work permits and city permits applied for, that this had been in the works for months. You don't just show up one day and say on November 1st, we're going to open up 20 solitary confinement cells in Point Douglas. You have to spend millions of dollars to construct them. You have to get all the permits. So the government knew, and the government decided that this was going to happen, and they didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew this was happening, and most importantly, the people of Point Douglas didn't know that this was happening. They certainly were never asked. They were never told, and they are now basically going to have this imposed on them without their consent or input. And they have some real problems with it, and one of them is that health experts will tell you that when you force somebody against their will to sober up when they're in the throng of addictions, that is incredibly dangerous. Because after 72 hours, you're going to be forced to release somebody who is drug sick, who's feeling the effects of withdrawal, who is desperate. What is the first thing that they're going to need to do? They're going to need to get more drugs. Well, who's going to come service them? It's a market. There are going to be drug dealers now coming into your neighborhood because that's where your market is, and they weren't there before. And they are going to purchase, and this is well documented in the literature, more drugs than they need. They will take more drugs than they need, and there will actually be a higher risk for overdose and deaths because of a center like this. Also, what happens, you've been released for 72 hours, you do not have any money or resources, but you have a burning need to get these drugs. So now you need those resources, and what do you have to do? Survival is top of mind. You are desperate. You have to get that fixed. So what do? You go into the neighboring neighborhood and you commit property crime. Or worse yet, and scarier yet, you commit some type of violent crime in order to get the resources, in order to purchase the drugs, in order to deal with the withdrawal symptoms that the government has put on you. That makes you incredibly unstable, and it makes you incredibly dangerous, and it hurts the community. And of course, the good people of Point Douglas know this because they're currently experiencing this, and they tell this government this, and the government just rolls their eyes and go, "Ah, well, we know better than you." They are the ones that have to live with the consequences of these government decisions every single day of their lives without assistance or relief. But what they get from this government is condescension and contempt. This simple amendment, which should be a no-brainer for the government if they have nothing to hide, and this is such a great idea and everybody loves it, it's easy to support this amendment because all it's saying is that we are going to mandate that we take the community safety concerns into consideration. And it's not going to prevent 75 Martha. It is not going to prevent preventative care centers being opened up elsewhere. But what it's going to do is make sure that the community voice is there. What it will do is make sure that safety concerns are being addressed and that the government gets this right. So this government didn't do the work, and it's clear that they never consulted anybody in the community. They never took into account safety concerns about proximity to school children or child care centers, and they're now trying to ram this through. And again, for what purpose? I mean, 2 days from now, they're supposed to open up, and they want a ribbon cutting, and they want a press conference, and this is more about a splashy political headline than actually helping people. Let's get this right. If this is the new model for this government, and I obviously vehemently disagree with it, I think this is a huge setback for human rights in Manitoba, and these centers are going to cause way more harm than they will actually fix. And I know many people on the opposite side, for my former colleagues, some of them are very compassionate, thinking people, are deeply uncomfortable about this bill, deeply uncomfortable about having to be frog marched to hold to support it. And they know it's wrong. And they know that this is wrong and that we can do better in Manitoba, and we should do better. So I will appeal to their better angels to support this amendment, but I won't hold my breath.
The honourable member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today to speak strongly in support of Amendment 1 to Bill 48. The amendment that creates a 500-meter buffer between protective care centres and our schools, daycares, senior homes, playgrounds, and community facilities. It also ensures that mobile overdose prevention sites can't simply pull up and operate next to those same locations or beside a protective care center. This is a measured and practical amendment, one that puts public safety, good planning, and respect for local communities first. It recognizes that compassion must be backed by structure, discipline, and accountability. Honourable Speaker, Manitobans are compassionate people. They care deeply about helping those struggling with addiction, but they also believe in rules, order, and responsibility. This amendment respects that balance. It ensures help is available, but not at the expense of families, children, and seniors who deserve safe neighborhoods. It's not about saying no to treatment. It's about saying yes to safe, responsible, and well-planned locations. A 500-meter buffer is not red tape. It's good governance. It gives clarity to municipalities, planners, and law enforcement. It gives families confidence that the government is thinking ahead instead of reacting after the problems arise. Rules like this remove uncertainty. They prevent conflict before it happens. They provide the kind of clear expectations and consistency that Conservatives believe government should always deliver. We cannot build trust in our communities if people feel blindsided by decisions made behind closed doors or forced through without consultation. This amendment restores that trust by putting common sense limits in law. Honourable Speaker, when our party talks about public safety, we mean protecting everyone, including those seeking help. Clustering high-risk sites close together or placing them near playgrounds or schools is not compassionate. It's reckless. Other provinces have already recognized this reality. They've implemented spacing rules and buffer zones that work. This amendment simply brings Manitoba up to the same responsible standard. It's about planning, not politics. The NDP likes to talk about compassion, but compassion without order is simply chaos. What Manitobans saw at committee was a government rushing a bill through, ignoring local voices, ignoring parents, and ignoring people with lived experience who said the same thing. We need help, but we also need boundaries. This amendment is literally what Manitobans are asking for. They stood up, they spoke clearly, and this proposal reflects their words. If a government truly listens, it should be welcoming exactly that. Honourable Speaker, we heard repeatedly that people do not want protective care centres built beside schools and childcare centres. That's not fear, that's basic common sense. You can be compassionate and still protect children. You can support treatment and still expect proper planning. That's what Conservative leadership looks like. Heart and head working together, not one over the other. We also heard from individuals who have struggled with addictions themselves. Many said that recovery is harder when services are surrounded by instability. They want dignity, privacy, and a sense of safety. None of that happens when a facility is dropped in the middle of a busy neighborhood or next to a daycare. By passing this amendment, we show those Manitobans that we take their safety and dignity seriously, and that we will not set them up for failure. Honourable Speaker, Conservatives believe in strong communities, places where people can live, work, and raise their families without fear or confusion about what's happening down the street. That means clear rules, predictable planning, and decisions made with local input, not just bureaucratic timelines. Unfortunately, this government has been more interested in meeting political deadlines than in listening to Manitobans. When the Premier announces that the centre will open November 1st, ready or not, that's not leadership, that's politics. And it puts everyone at risk, clients, staff, and the entire community. Our amendment brings a dose of reality, a check on a government that's been moving far too fast and ignoring basic safety considerations. We're not asking for anything radical. A 500-meter buffer is already standard in many provinces. It's a straightforward, enforceable rule that helps municipalities and developers plan reasonably. It ensures facilities are located in areas that make sense, near supports, not near schools. This is the kind of practical, disciplined measure that makes programs sustainable and not controversial. It's interesting, Honourable Speaker, that in this case, the Premier comes forward pushing through an idea that's been publicized. We are pushing an amendment that makes sense. It's interesting here, things can action quickly, but literally on every other aspect of the economy of our province, it's at a stalemate. Honourable Speaker, Manitobans deserve a government that listens before it acts. They deserve a government that values both compassion and caution, a government that doesn't mistake speed for success. By supporting this amendment, we show Manitobans that we can do both, deliver help to those in need while protecting the safety and stability of every neighborhood. We show that compassion works best when guided by principle, and that structure is not the enemy of care. It's the foundation of it. In closing, Honourable Speaker, I urge all members to support Amendment 1. It's fair, responsible, and rooted in the values of everyday Manitobans: safety, order, accountability, and respect for families. This amendment strengthens Bill 48 and gives Manitobans confidence that their government understands what real balance looks like. Because in the end, the measure of good government isn't how fast we act, it's how wisely we plan. Let's make sure our compassion is guided by common sense. Let's vote for safety, for order, and for the communities that we serve. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Honourable Speaker. I'm happy to rise today and talk about the proposed amendment, Amendment number 1 to Bill 48. And as I said many times when I've stood in this chamber, it's our responsibility to get things right, to protect the people that we represent, to make sure that future generations have a place to be safe, that we make sure that every single person that has the distinction of being a part of our province can lead a full and fulsome life. And as my colleague from Fort Garry pointed out, that the amendment to Bill 48 is a very reasonable amendment that was brought forward by the good people of Point Douglas, who said, we need to make sure that we do this right. We need some safeguards to keep people in our neighborhood safe. And if you go through here, I mean, I hope everybody's had an opportunity to read all the proposed amendments, but in particular, Amendment number 1, where it talks about just having the care center not to be within 500 meters of a public school, an independent school, a child care center, a personal care home, a public playground, or a supervised consumption site. And no point in there does it say that you have to close other facilities. The argument that the opposition, the government, is making here, that somebody would have to close something is absolutely ridiculous. That before you can open something with restrictions, you have to close something. It simply says, don't open it there. Find a place that meets the safety requirements that the people of Point Douglas are asking for. Now, it's been touched upon a few times, whether to hold somebody for 72 hours is even right to do it, or the Charter of Rights. If you're infringing on the freedoms that somebody has, a right to counsel, a right for representation. But all that aside, if you take somebody off the street that you believe is in a psychosis or impaired by drugs, and you put them in a detention center against their will, and you force them into this center for 72 hours, I see a scenario where several things can happen. I see that not only that person is going to feel like their rights have been trampled on, they're going to be extremely angry. They're going to be resentful. And when they get released from that facility, other than craving their next fix, they're still going to be extremely angry. And I would hate to be the person in that pathway between them and their fix. This is simply asking that we put safeguards in place to protect the vulnerable in our communities. Can you imagine somebody in a personal care home just trying to be outside enjoying a beautiful day of weather, where somebody has just been released who is angry at the world that their rights have been trampled on, that is freaking out because they need a fix, and the only thing they can think is to retaliate against anybody? That person will become a target. Or the child playing in the playground. Or the child care provider who's there to watch over those children and protect all those children. They're going to be a target. I have said many, many times that when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And we've seen this over and over and over again with this NDP government. They are selling the sizzle and not the steak. After a while, you have to deliver that steak. You can't keep just going off of headlines. This is not a one and done thing. Your responsibility is to protect the people that we represent, not just the ideology that you have, that you want to open up a center or you want that center to become something important. The center didn't work in Point Douglas. It's time to find another path that will work for that community. Not to ram something down their throats and saying, this is what you get, take it or leave it. This isn't a situation where you have to close down care centers that are working to provide treatment for people in addictions. This is a system that says, plan it, do the job right, make sure that people who are involved in making these decisions get it right. That you protect every single person of that community. And these are simple little safeguards. We know that schools are understaffed. We need teachers. And teachers represent protecting a number of students. They have enough to worry about, not about safety in their communities. If you read through here and see the simple amendment that it was asked for, I'm certain everybody will agree that they wouldn't want their family in harm's way. Let's protect everybody else's family. Thank you.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. On House business.
Honourable Opposition House Leader on House business.
Could you please canvass the House to see if there's leave to speak expedite consideration of a number of bills as follows. 1, at the beginning of orders of the day, government business on Monday, November 3rd, and Tuesday, November 4th, the House will consider report stage amendments to Bill 48, with the House not seeing the clock on Tuesday, November 4th, until the question has been put on all outstanding report stage amendments to that bill. 2, at the beginning of orders of the day, private members' business on Tuesday, November 4th. The following bills will be called for concurrence and third reading with no debate, and the question to be put immediately after the motion is moved. Bill 208 and Bill 234. Once these questions have been disposed, the government House leader or designate can call other business. 3, at the beginning of orders of the day, government business on Wednesday, November 5th, the House will consider second reading of Bill 48. It says 46. Sorry. Let me start over at number 3. At the beginning of orders of the day, government business on Wednesday, November 5th, the House will consider second reading of Bill 46 with the Speaker to interrupt debate to put the question at 4:58 p.m. In the event of a recorded vote being requested, the bells are to ring for a maximum of 5 minutes. At the beginning of orders of the day, private members' business on Thursday, November 6th, the House will consider second reading of Bill 222 with no debate and the question put immediately after the motion is moved. 5, once the question on second reading of Bill 222 has been resolved, the House will immediately resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider clause by clause of Bills 204, 222, and 226, with the chairperson to put all questions necessary to dispose of the bills without debate. The chairperson is to report back to the House immediately upon the committee concluding the business before it. 6, once the report of the committee has been received, the House will then immediately consider concurrence and third readings of Bill 204, 222, and 226 with the following provisions. Members may speak for up to 5 minutes. Debate on each bill shall be limited to 10 minutes total, with the Speaker to put the question after the debate has concluded or no other member wishes to speak to the bill. The House will not see the clock at 11 a.m. until all the questions have been put on all 3 bills. 7, at the beginning of orders of the day, government business on Thursday, November 6th, the House will consider concurrence and third reading of Bill 48, with the House to not see the clock until all members who wish to speak on the bill have spoken and the Speaker puts the question.
Is there leave for the House to expedite consideration of bills as described by the official opposition House Leader? Is there leave? Agreed. I hear no. Leave has been denied. Further speakers on the amendment then? Seeing none, is the House ready for the question? So the question before the House is the First Amendment to Bill 48, the Protective Detention and Care of Intoxicated Persons Act. Do members wish to have the entire thing read? No. So all those in, is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the amendment? Agreed. I hear a no. All those in the House in favor of adopting the amendment, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. I think the nays have it. The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Can I respectfully ask for a recorded vote?
A recorded vote has been asked for. Please call in the members. The question before the House is the amendment number 1 to Bill 48. All those in the House in favor of adopting the amendment, please rise.
Mr. Khan,
Mr. Khan,
Mr. Johnson,
Mr. Johnson,
Mrs. Stone,
Mrs. Stone,
MLA Bariza,
MLA Bariza,
Mrs. Cook,
Mrs. Cook,
Mr. Narth,
Mr. Narth,
Ms. Byram,
Ms. Byram,
Mrs. Hebert,
Mrs. Hebert,
Mr. Balkin,
Mr. Balkin,
Mr. Ginter,
Mr. Ginter,
Mr. King,
Mr. King,
Mr. Iwasko,
Mr. Iwasko,
Mr. Wasiliu,
Mr. Wasiliu,
Mr. Wochuk,
Mr. Wochuk,
Mr. Nesbitt,
Mr. Nesbitt,
Mrs. Robbins,
Mrs. Robbins,
MLA Lagacé,
MLA Lagacé,
Mr. Pershaw.
Mr. Prashot.
All those in the House opposed to the amendment, please rise.
Okay.
Honorable Mr. Canoe,
Honorable Mr. Canoe,
Honorable Minister Schmidt,
Honorable Minister Schmidt,
Honorable Mr. Wiebe,
Honorable Mr. Wiebe,
Honorable Minister Sala,
Honorable Minister Sala,
Honorable Mr. Costician,
Honorable Mr. Costician,
Honorable Mr. Bushy,
Honorable Mr. Bushy,
Honorable Minister Marcelino,
Honorable Minister Marcelino,
Honorable Minister Kennedy,
Honorable Minister Kennedy,
Honorable Mr. Moses,
Honorable Mr. Moses,
Honorable Minister Cable,
Honorable Minister Cable,
Honorable Minister Sandhu,
Honorable Minister Sandhu,
Honorable Minister Moyes,
Honorable Minister Moyes,
Honorable Minister Morose,
Honorable Minister Morose,
MLA Malloway,
MLA Malloway,
Mr. Blaschko,
Mr. Blaschko,
MLA Chen,
MLA Chen,
MLA Pankratz,
MLA Pankratz,
MLA Devgun,
MLA Devgun,
MLA Compton,
MLA Compton,
MLA Loisel,
MLA Loisel,
MLA Redhead,
MLA Redhead,
MLA Cross.
MLA Cross.
We will now conduct the alphabetical roll call for members participating virtually, and as a reminder to all virtual members, please respond clearly with either I vote yes or I vote no only when your name is called. Remind members to unmute their mics only when they are recognized and then immediately mute it again once they have declared their vote. The page will now conduct the vote.
Honorable Minister Asaguara,
I vote no. Honorable Minister Asaguara votes no.
Mr. Broad,
I vote no.
Mr. Brar votes no.
MLA Dela Cruz,
I vote no.
MLA Dela Cruz votes no.
Mrs. Schott,
I vote no.
Mrs. Schott votes no.
Honorable Minister Simard,
I vote no. Honorable Minister Simard votes no. Well done. Ayes 18, nays 27.
The motion is accordingly defeated, and the hour being past 5 o'clock, this House is adjourned and stands adjourned until 1:30 on Monday.